Chapter 101, One Streak of Blade Light. The Crown Prince and his men were traveling quickly across the black patch of land. Your Highness, we have been tracking them from the start and they are just up ahead. Sir Yang said excitedly. Since the previous time when he escaped in front of the Crown Prince, he had lost all his dignity. He was filled with rage and had dragged along his senior brother and junior brother to promise the Crown Prince that they would kill Heavenheart and Gabriel this time. Only then had the Crown Prince barely believed him. The Crown Prince wasn't a fool either. Since Sir Yang could abandon him once, then he could do so again. This was why this time he gathered 7 Dao realm experts. Along with the 3 of them, there were a total of 10. The Crown Prince didn't believe that with 10 Dao realm saints, they wouldn't be able to kill Heavenheart and Gabriel. The Crown Prince said coldly, since they are ahead, then charge there and kill them. I am just so annoyed with them for running and fleeing like rats. The 10 Dao saints released their auras and flew in the air in an unrestrained manner. They didn't bother to hide their presence at all. Explosion. Dust billowed from the black ground and the whole area was covered in smoke. The 10 Dao saints along with the Crown Prince looked like demons standing among the smoke. They moved forward quickly. Their goal was to capture Long Mingzhu and spoil her plans. Along the way, they would also kill Heavenheart and Gabriel. Dong dong dong. But in the next second, the sound of someone kowtowing could be heard. It was like someone was praying to the heavens, softly knocking on the ground. To this person, the sound was really soft, but to the Crown Prince and the others, it was like thunder. Crown Prince, it is that bald monk. Sir Yang pointed at the monk, who was dressed in pure white and standing 100 miles away. He looked like a young kid with clean eyebrows and snow-white skin. He had a bald head and was wearing a white robe. He stood in front of the rumbling storm and looked like the second coming of Sakyamuni. Kill him! The Crown Prince pulled out his sword and shouted in rage. He didn't hesitate at all and didn't speak any other nonsense. They came from tens of thousands of miles away to kill him. Since they had found him, then they would kindly ask him to die. The Crown Prince's killing intent drew out the aura of the other 10 Dao saints. Hong hong hong. The 100 meters of smoke were like clouds covering the sky. The rumbling mist around was truly a majestic sight. Kill! A Dao saint hollered in rage. His body was like lightning as he smashed the stick that he had in his hand down. This move was a stick technique that he had cultivated to the extreme. Great Saint Mountain Splitting. Heavenheart looked at it and was unfazed. He raised his hand and reached out with his fingers. Country in a palm. The Buddha used the 5-finger mountain to stop the Monkey King. Now, Heavenheart used 5 fingers to face the attack. Explosion. Wind swept all around and the black fog and sand scattered. But Heavenheart's body continued to shine golden like a Buddha statue. The moment he raised up his hand, he was invincible. Dong! His 5 fingers turned into a claw, sucking the attack into the Buddha country in his palm. He turned his body and slapped towards the ground. Explosion! The black soil shook for 100 miles around. The 9 Dao saints, who rushed over, instantly felt despair. None of them could block the power that struck them from the ground. Within 100 miles, the ground collapsed. The portion that collapsed flew into the sky and struck the other 9 Dao saints. Heavenheart swung his hand, causing the Dao saint who was trapped in his Buddha country to spit out blood. His body was like a rag doll as he was flung away. To the other Dao saints, that strike seemed like a small impact, but to him, it was a lethal strike. The Buddha country in his palm didn't protect him. After the land around exploded, he was the first to suffer from the impact. This was why after he was flung out, he rolled on the ground and spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. His own internal organs were mixed in with the blood. His face was filled with terror and disbelief. How is this possible? How can he do this? How can he be so strong? All of them were Dao saints, but why was he so strong like he was on performance-enhancing drugs, while he was just so weak? The 9 Dao saints, who were flung back, all stood up and were filled with uncertainty. Heavenheart's body was extremely clean and there was no dust on him at all. From start to finish, his expression hadn't changed. The Dao saint, who was on his dying breath, crawled on the ground and tried to get up. However, he was like a half-dead pig, stumbling about. This comparison was just too tragic. The Crown Prince also rushed over, but when he saw these scenes, he sucked in a deep breath. Were his eyes playing tricks on him? He found 10 Dao saints to kill him, but the guy had managed to crush one of them right away? And more importantly, he was perfectly unharmed as well. Did that even make sense? The Crown Prince swallowed his saliva and gritted his teeth. Attack together. I don't believe he can defend against 9 of you. The 9 Dao saints exchanged glances with one another and they were all eager to fight. They too didn't believe that Heavenheart would be so strong. All of them were Dao saints and naturally had firm beliefs in their own strength and that they wouldn't be so easily crushed. The 9 of them slowly surrounded Heavenheart, standing 100 meters away from him. Heavenheart was unfazed and looked at them calmly. So what if there were many of them? Today, none of you will be left alive. Heavenheart broke the silence. Bald monk, you are too arrogant. One of us is going to die today. We can't beat you 1 against 1, but we are all Dao saints. We will be able to take you down. Let's attack together. The 9 Dao saints spoke one after another as they continued to stare at Heavenheart. Aang! Heavenheart suddenly roared out. His clothing ruffled in the wind as he stepped out. He didn't bother to hide his aura at all. Buddha golden body. Dong! A 3,000-foot golden body appeared in the sky. It looked extremely real as it raised its palm and smacked down viciously. Reincarnate. Heavenheart's golden body gave off an ear-piercing noise. One slap felt like the entire sky pressing down. It shook the entire patch of black land. The expressions of the 9 Dao saints all changed. They stared at the golden body in disbelief. At this moment, they were all as small as ants. The slap from the Buddha sealed all of their escape paths. They tried their best to block, but they knew that they were like the Monkey King against the Gautama Buddha, they were not strong enough to fight back. Clang! At that instant, a blade light slashed through the sky and struck the golden body. Ka ka ka! The golden body split open and many cracks appeared. Heavenheart spat out a mouthful of blood and retreated. His face flushed red as he stared in the direction the light had come from. The Crown Prince looked on in disbelief. Heavenheart's golden body was actually shattered and he was forced to retreat? The other Dao saints were saved. All of them looked at the person who had come with immense gratitude. Without him, they would all have died from Heavenheart's slap. Heavenheart wiped the blood from his mouth, frowning as he stared at the person who had come. This had exceeded his expectations. Chapter 102, Great Xia Dragon Finch. He was dressed simply, had a clean-shaven face, and a tall stature. He held a crescent moon-shaped blade and stared coldly at Heavenheart. The Crown Prince said, Great Xia Dragon Finch. This was a really famous and extremely strong weapon in ancient desolate land. It was also a celestial artifact. The reason why Great Xia was able to stand tall and not fall was solely because of the Great Xia Dragon Finch. If the Great Xia Dragon Finch was around, then the Great Xia dynasty would still exist. The Great Xia Dragon Finch ensured the foundations of the dynasty. Although they weren't able to rule the world, they were able to occupy land and fend off all enemies. There was someone wielding the Dragon Finch each generation. They would be selected from the royal family and made to cultivate. Once the older generation retreated into seclusion, he would take over. This person was the one of this generation, the Great Xia dynasty's protector god. Xia Wuxu. Senior Xia Wuxu, I am the Crown Prince of 10,000 Dragon Empire. Thank you for your assistance. The Crown Prince was delighted and he saw some hope. Great Xia Dragonfinch was a celestial artifact and it was an attack-type artifact that was extremely fierce. Along with the fact that Xia Wuxu was a top expert, it would be more than enough to kill Heavenheart. Xia Wuxu nodded his head calmly and totally disregarded the Crown Prince. He stared at Heavenheart and said, "It is tough for you to cultivate to such a level. If you are willing to surrender, I will let you live." With the great Xia Dragonfinch, Xia Wuxu was really confident. So what if Heavenheart was strong and was peak Dao Saint? Could he easily handle the sharp blade of the Dragonfinch? Senior Xia Wuxu, this person is extremely arrogant and has killed many people. He is a disgrace to Buddhism. The Crown Prince was anxious as he saw that Xia Wuxu was trying to recruit Heavenheart. Xia Wuxu said calmly, "Do I look like I need you to direct the things I am doing?" The Crown Prince's face turned black and he didn't know what else to say. When Heavenheart saw this, he laughed and shook his head. "Sir, do we have any animosity between each other?" "No." Xia Wuxu replied right away. "Did we exchange any acts of kindness?" Heavenheart continued to ask. "We have never met." Xia Wuxu continued to reply. With the great Xia Dragonfinch in his hand, his aura suppressed the entire area. "Then, why did you come here to kill me?" Heavenheart asked curiously. In truth, he had guessed a bit about all this. Within Great Xia dynasty, there was only that thing. Xia Wuxu said calmly, you know what you did. My Great Xia doesn't like to compete, but we aren't cowards. We won't let others kill the people in our land. Heavenheart closed his eyes and thought to himself that that was indeed the case. You are a genius and it isn't easy to cultivate to such a stage. If you are willing to submit to my Great Xia dynasty, then I will allow you to start a sect to spread your ideas. As long as you don't betray us, you can do anything you want. Xia Wuxu looked at Heavenheart and really wanted such a talent. He wanted to pull him to his side to add another top expert to Great Xia dynasty. I am thankful for your kind intentions, but I have just started my journey and I have so much to learn, so how can I start a sect? Heavenheart rejected. Then, go and die. Xia Wuxu sighed. People who were able to cultivate Tadao Saint Realm were all very determined. Since he had rejected him, he wouldn't agree so easily. Xia Wuxu didn't want to persuade him anymore. Since he didn't agree, then he would kill him. The Great Xia Dragonfinch was pulled out of its sheath and it gave off a majestic light. Two illusions of a dragon and a finch appeared, dancing around the blade. It was really beautiful and stunning. Death. Xia Wuxu slashed down with the dragonfinch without any hesitation at all. Explosion. This strike was really terrifying. Purple specks of starlight struck downwards. Monk, you have to die this time. The Crown Prince looked on emotionally. He was really excited just thinking about how this monk was about to be killed. He felt happiness from the bottom of his heart. Heavenheart's face turned solemn. He felt immense pressure on him from the attack. This was a celestial artifact. A celestial artifact could instantly change a battle. In Dali Land, a celestial artifact was like a nuclear weapon that threatened everyone. In ancient desolate land, celestial artifacts were very rare too and few people could take a strike from it. Although the celestial artifact's strike didn't activate the celestial seal, its power couldn't be underestimated. Amitabha. Heavenheart placed his palms together and chanted. His body stood there like a mountain and a gate appeared at his temple. This was a Buddha world and a rock flew out from within. It opened its wings which covered the sky. Around its body, there were hundreds of Buddhas, disciples, and Garudas. Light shone down on the land. These were the scenes of the Buddha Spirit Mountain which were instantiated in Heavenheart's consciousness. It was extremely beautiful but terrifying at the same time. This was also Heavenheart's strongest move. At this moment, Heavenheart was like the Gautama Buddha at the top of the mountain peak, he was the master of all Buddhas. He rode on the rock and was surrounded by hundreds of Buddhas and disciples. The scene was so shocking that it made one tremble. Even the Crown Prince's stomach and legs started to shake. He even started to suspect whether or not Heavenheart had really become a Buddha, otherwise, why would there be such terrifying scenes? Xia Wuxu looked on in astonishment. Heavenheart was brimming with vital energy, like the Milky Way in the sky that drowned out the entire land. That golden glow covered the sky and made it tough for one to open their eyes. Hong! Heavenheart reached out. His golden fingers headed towards the sharp glow of the dragonfinch and there was a large explosion. Clang! In the end, Heavenheart's fingers snapped the blade glow. When Xia Wuxu saw this, he frowned. He didn't expect Heavenheart to be able to block the dragonfinch's blade energy. Die! Xia Wuxu was furious. The Great Xia Dragonfinch's legendary name and reputation couldn't be insulted. When it was used it had to kill the enemy. How could it be blocked? This time, Xia Wuxu's body flashed. He appeared in front of Heavenheart as he hacked down. Hong! This strike turned into a 100,000-foot blade light. The main body of the Great Xia Dragonfinch was hidden in it. Even if Heavenheart shattered the blade energy, the main blade would slice him into half. These scenes pumped up the Crown Prince and made him really emotional. Xia Wuxu was so brave. One man and one blade were fighting against a sky full of Buddhas. Heavenheart, who had turned into the Gautama Buddha, was really calm. When he saw such an attack, he also knew which part of it was dangerous. But how would he block it? He didn't have a good idea. After all, it was a celestial artifact. It was already really amazing that he blocked the last strike. Heavenheart didn't know whether or not he would be able to block this one. Don't be afraid. They have celestial artifacts but we have them too. A voice said firmly. Chapter 103, Enemy from Four Directions. His tone was powerful and firm. The aura was extremely fierce and intense. A light shone across the land. The person who came was Gabriel. He told Long Mingzu, Michael, and Wu Xianer to continue building the teleportation formation while he rushed over. The celestial artifact's aura was really obvious and he was able to sense it from a few hundred miles away. That was why he came. A sword energy slashed down from the heavens. It parted the sky and halted the great Xia Dragonfinch's attack. Hong! This strike was extremely powerful, like two planets colliding. Even Heavenheart was impacted by it and he flew backward. He spat out a mouthful of fresh blood and the phenomenons around him all scattered. The invincible Heavenheart was injured due to the clash of the two celestial artifacts. From this, one could see how terrifyingly strong a celestial artifact was. Both the great Xia Dragonfinch and Gabriel's celestial sword flew backward, and he grabbed it. "Who are you?" Xia Wuxu asked with a dark expression. The dragonfinch in his hand was trembling. It was roaring in rage. Since the beginning, the great Xia Dragonfinch had been invincible. It killed numerous people and had never met someone who was its match. But now, the great Xia Dragonfinch had met a strong enemy. A celestial artifact that was not weaker than it. Both of them were on par after that single clash. The 6 pairs of wings behind Gabriel's back slowly appeared. He was wrapped in angel war armor and wore a helmet that only showed his eyes. He said coldly, "Archangel Gabriel." Xia Wuxu frowned. This name was so weird and it was the first time he had heard it. The Crown Prince said emotionally, "He is the one. He is on the same side as this bald monk and he was the one who snatched the world coordinates from me. They are definitely building the world-grade teleportation formation behind there. The most valuable use of the world coordinates is to build the formation." Xia Wuxu's gaze turned cold. They were building the world-grade teleportation formation to find more experts? You are asking to die. Gabriel looked at the Crown Prince and scoffed coldly. The celestial sword in his hand was like jade, it was white and transparent. He slashed forwards lightly. Explosion! Sword energy shot out a few hundred feet and slashed towards the Crown Prince. Gabriel wanted to kill the noisy Crown Prince. "You dare to kill someone when you are in front of me?" Xia Wuxu was furious. He waved the great Xia Dragonfinch to shatter the sword energy. Explosion! The sword energy and blade energy clashed, sweeping the black soil around. The shockwaves looked really terrifying and intense. The Crown Prince was so terrified that he fell down to the ground. That sword really caused him to feel what death was like. If Xia Wuxu hadn't saved him, he would have definitely died. That was because he didn't have Heavenheart's ability to block a strike from a celestial artifact. "Thank you, Xia Wuxu." The Crown Prince wiped off the cold sweat and he was filled with gratitude. "Bring your men forwards and destroy the teleportation formation. I will fight against this person," Xia Wuxu said coldly. After learning that Heavenheart was building a world-grade teleportation formation, Xia Wuxu instantly thought back to what happened to Founder Demon Sect. Founder Demon Sect did have the materials to craft the world-grade teleportation formation. He knew that he definitely couldn't allow them to build the world-grade teleportation formation. Otherwise, once their helpers arrived, all their efforts would go to waste. This was why he saved the Crown Prince. If he hadn't, he would be too lazy to interact with such a person. That's right, the Crown Prince was just a piece of trash to him. The Crown Prince didn't know, instead, he felt really grateful towards Xia Wuxu. He felt like he was a real expert who had the ability to see the big picture. He knew who was useful and saved him so that he could help thwart Long Mingzu's evil plans. "Long Mingzu, Heavenheart, I don't care what plans you have. I will destroy the world-grade teleportation formation and your plan will just collapse." The Crown Prince laughed coldly. "Go. All of you follow me to destroy the world-grade teleportation formation. Whoever puts in the most effort will be greatly rewarded." The Crown Prince said in rage as he dashed forward. The 10 Dao saints who followed him all went full speed ahead as they all saw hope. Naturally, they were all really motivated. Gabriel raised his celestial artifact and wanted to kill them. Hong! But a blade light slashed across which forced him to retreat. He looked at the person with a frown. Xia Wuxu held the great Xia Dragonfinch and was in midair staring at Gabriel. "I am your opponent. The great Xia Dragonfinch is your opponent," Xia Wuxu said calmly. Gabriel frowned. This person was really asking to die. "You fight him here. I will go to protect the teleportation formation." Heavenheart climbed up, suppressing the pain from his injuries, and rushed back. A monk who isn't at his peak won't be able to fight the other 10 Dao saints even if he returns. Xiaoyuxu said with disdain, not worried at all. When the two celestial artifacts clashed, Heavenheart was badly injured as he faced them head-on. It wasn't the strength of one celestial artifact. But, 2. It was amazing that he wasn't heavily injured and had even managed to survive. At the moment, Heavenheart didn't have the same combat strength as before. Gabriel squinted his eyes and stabbed the celestial sword in his hand forwards. Die. Long Mingzu, Michael, Wu Xianer were nervously building the world-grade teleportation formation. They carefully followed the instructions in the blueprints, one by one. In just a short time, the rough outline could be seen and the foundation layer had already been built. They were now adding new things to build it up. This was a really detailed and precise job which was perfect for Long Mingzu and Wu Xianer. Especially Long Mingzu, who was on her final step before she managed to reach her dreams. As long as this teleportation formation was built and Li Xiandao could cross over, her dream would be fulfilled. Long Mingzu was more serious and focused than anyone else. Michael was in charge of moving the large-sized treasures and materials. Even if they had the blueprints, it was still problematic and tough to build a large world-grade teleportation formation. In the hands of these three, the process was really orderly and efficient. They progressed really swiftly. Lucifer held the 6 demon blades and tried to merge them one by one. The 7th blade was still on the way. Lucifer wasn't far away. He was the barrier behind Heavenheart and had nothing to do, so he tried to merge the world-breaking blade. Just as Lucifer was studying it, a thunder-like sound spread out from the distance. The Crown Prince brought 10 Dao saints to charge over. They surrounded Lucifer and all of them stared at him. "You are Heavenheart's partner?" The Crown Prince asked coldly. "What if I am? What if I'm not?" Lucifer asked calmly. "If you aren't, then move aside. Don't let me harm an innocent person." The Crown Prince said coldly. "If you are partners, then die." A sharp glow flashed in the Crown Prince's eyes. "You all won't be able to kill me," Lucifer kept the 6 demon blades and said. "If the 10 of them can't, then what about the few of us?" A furious voice rang out. "What about us? We also came to kill you," another person said furiously. Lucifer frowned. Chapter 104, Peacock Behind. The Crown Prince brought 10 Dao saints who were aggressively staring at Lucifer. Lucifer originally didn't care about the 10 Dao saints. Just like Heavenheart, if he went all out, the 10 Dao saints wouldn't be able to block him. But now, the situation changed. The first person who spoke was someone who Lucifer didn't know. But, he did know the second person. The 7 Dao saints from 10,000 Ancient Celestial Sect. When Lucifer was in 10,000 Ancient Celestial Sect, he had heard of the 7 ancestors. They were all elders previously, and after resigning from their posts, they went into seclusion to break through to Dao Saint. Although they were all just at the initial Dao Saint realm, there were 7 of them. Moreover, the first batch of people had 3 Dao Saints too. They seemed really aggressive and fierce, like people that shouldn't be offended. "Where are you all from?" Lucifer frowned and didn't recall offending someone from the demon sect before. He offended 10,000 Ancient Celestial Sect, and Heavenheart offended the Crown Prince. Who offended the demon sect? "The 3 of us are the 3 elders of primitive demon sect." An ugly, old man with tumors on his face said. His eyes shone a green light and he seemed really terrifying. "We have no grievances with primitive demon sect, right?" Lucifer frowned. "You don't, but you killed the elder of founder demon sect and stole their treasures. Such actions are an obvious provocation toward our primitive demon sect." The ugly, old man said unhappily. "Our primitive demon sect suggested the 18 demon sects, so we do have the duty to protect the weaker sections." The ugly old man said righteously. Lucifer smiled and laughed coldly. "Founder demon sect really has many protectors. Great Xia dynasty is protecting them and has even used the Great Xia Dragonfinch for them. Now, your primitive demon sect also wants to protect him and send 3 old, ugly people over. Aren't you afraid that something might happen to all of you and you will all die here? Son, although you try to hide your face, from your body and tone, I can tell you aren't old. Since you've broken through to Dao Saint at such a young age, you should settle down and be humble. You shouldn't think that you are invincible," the old man gritted his teeth and said. Lucifer's face behind the mask turned black. He had hidden his face, so how could this guy have known his age? Facing 20 Dao Saints, Lucifer was under huge pressure. This wasn't 20 Tian Guangmings. Luckily for him, Heavenheart appeared. He rushed over but his aura was weak. His face was devoid of blood as he looked at Lucifer. What happened to you? Lucifer was a little worried. 2 celestial artifacts touched me in close contact. Heavenheart shook his head bitterly. Lucifer frowned and said, there are too many of them. Can we win? Heavenheart asked. We can try. Lucifer had no confidence and could only try his best. Take these and merge them. Today, I want to let you all know how strong fallen angel Lucifer is. Lucifer tossed the 6 demon blades to Heavenheart. He stepped out and raised his demonic blade in his hand, arrogantly staring at this bunch of people. Today, Lucifer will welcome all your attacks. The moment Lucifer said this, his aura rumbled and it was enormous. A black and white intersecting aura spread out from his brow and it then caused the entire heaven and earth to shake. Dong! A light and dark domain appeared around Lucifer. The moment this domain appeared, the 20 Dao saints were shocked. Their domain was just a few hundred meters, but Lucifer's covered dozens of miles and it was still spreading. Lucifer was far stronger than they had expected. Don't be afraid. With the 20 of us working together, we are basically invincible in ancient desolate land. Attack together and break his domain. Someone shouted. Right, we must break his domain. If 20 Dao saints are afraid of just one, that would be a huge joke. The 20 Dao saints were all really confident. So what if they couldn't fight him alone? In a group, they could still beat him up. Kill. Eternal Sword. Invincible Fist. Big River Rumble. Rumbling Current Sword Technique. Chaotic Ancient Fist Technique. The 20 Dao saints attacked all together and all sorts of moves scattered down. It caused Lucifer's domain to tremble and it seemed like it could shatter at any moment. Lucifer took in a deep breath. A yin-yang eye rotated behind him and life and death energies both flowed around. At this moment, he was brimming with energy, he was one with the Dao and the Dao was one with him. Within a breath, a saintly light drowned out the heaven and earth. He was like an emperor from ancient times, covered by large amounts of light. But in the blink of an eye, Lucifer was now drowned in darkness. The darkness made it tough for him to see what was going on. He was like a demon whose face one couldn't see clearly. In the end, half of Lucifer's body was in the sun while the other half was hidden in the darkness. As for the part in the darkness, one could only see his rough outline. With dark and light in the same body, at this moment, Lucifer unleashed his ability. He had a demon blade in one hand and the sword of judgment in the other. He waved them aimlessly and a strong attack exploded out. When he was in the god race, he was the judicator, he held the sword of judgment and executed the law. In hell, he was the fallen angel. He held the fallen demon blade and killed many people. Now, Lucifer's pupils were extremely deep. He was extremely calm behind the mask and didn't show any emotion. It was as if the outside world didn't matter at all and his heart was unaffected. He controlled his domain to suppress those 20 Dao saints alone. He didn't allow them to disturb Long Mingzhu and the rest who were building the teleportation formation. Outside of the domain, Heavenheart didn't have time to feel sad. Lucifer definitely wouldn't be able to last for long alone and he had to make use of the chance. Long Mingzhu, Wu Xiener and Michael all knew what was going on. They stopped being distracted and focused on building the teleportation formation. He placed the star guidance map on it and keyed in the world coordinates. They were just missing the world-breaking blade. Long Mingzhu looked towards Heavenheart. When will the world-breaking blade be ready? Long Mingzhu asked anxiously. In the distance, the 2 celestial artifact clashing caused the earth to shake. The black soil on the ground was totally destroyed. The entire region was pitch black. Smoke and dust covered the entire area. Not far from that, Lucifer used his light and darkness domain to suppress the 20 Dao saints. He trapped them in it and didn't let them out. Everyone was working hard and the teleportation formation was just missing one world-breaking blade. As long as they used it to slice past the barrier of this world, they would be connected to Dali Land. Li Xiandao could cross worlds. Heavenheart took the 6 demon blades and looked at them with a serious expression. On the side, someone was flying over. La Mo. He had the final soul-slaying blade. La Mo shouted emotionally, I've got it. I finally got it. We nearly fought, but in the end, we forced them to hand it over. Once I got it, I rushed back right away. Heavenheart laughed, you are right on time. Stop him. At that moment, a really arrogant voice rang out. He was really proud and even laughed out loud as he said that. I have been hiding for half a day just for this moment. Your hope is gone. Chapter 105, You Were Adopted. When Long Mixu saw who it was, she shouted furiously, Long Beishuan, you actually came here. The person intercepting wasn't anyone, but Long Beishuan, whom Long Mixu had been suppressing under her. Long Beishuan wasn't alone, he came with 2 Dao saints from Daimei Holy Land who supported him. You didn't expect this, right? Long Beishuan laughed out loud in excitement. When I left Shengjing, I locked you in the residence. Long Mixu didn't expect that Long Beishuan would actually flee the place and arrive here. He had been lying in wait for that moment. Damn you, Long Mixu! You are my sister and actually treated me like trash. Let me tell you that I am not trash. Haven't I seen through your plan? Long Beishuan felt delighted. He had no fear now. Gabriel was being held down by Xiaoyuxu. Lucifer was suppressing the 20 Dao saints. Heavenheart was injured. Long Mixu, Michael, and Wu Xianer weren't strong enough. He had 2 Dao saints under him who were enough to clear the battlefield. This was the benefit of hiding and buying time. La Mo stopped and looked on solemnly. He protected the final spirit-breaking blade. Heavenheart frowned, if all of you were hiding, it would have been impossible for me to not have noticed you. Although your sensory ability is strong, you might miss out on stuff. We rushed over and used Daimei Holy Land's turtle aura technique to hide our aura. When Long Beishuan said this, he couldn't help but feel delighted. You have been clashing with the Crown Prince, so why would you pay attention to slightly weaker people or animals that pass? Long Beishuan asked Heavenheart. Heavenheart became silent and knew that Long Beishuan was right. He was under too much pressure and had also been injured by both Xiaoyuxu and Gabriel's 2 celestial artifacts. Thus, he had no energy left to pay attention to his surroundings. Long Beishuan looked at La Mo and reached out with his hand. From now on, I will take over this situation. Hand the spirit-breaking blade to me and I will help you all merge the world-breaking blade. La Mo looked on coldly. Long Beishuan was not at Saint Realm, but he was acting so arrogantly here. If it wasn't for the 2 Dao saints beside him, La Mo would have killed him with a sword. He was just abusing their aura. Long Beishuan saw that La Mo wasn't doing anything and he became so furious that he said to the 2 Dao saints by his side, 2 elders, kill him and take the spirit-breaking blade. He is the Dao saint of the high mountain race which has many Dao saints. We don't want to offend them, so we can't just kill him. An elder said calmly. Long Beishuan's expression changed. What is the meaning of this? You won't listen to me? Although you can't kill him, you can take the spirit-breaking blade from him. The other elder said coldly. Long Beishuan heaved a sigh of relief and thought that the 2 Daimei Holy Land elders weren't listening to him. Then, don't kill him and just take the spirit-breaking blade. Long Beishuan changed his request. You dare! Long Mixu was so extremely furious that his chest rose up and down. His face was filled with killing intent and rage. Long Beishuan, in the past, I only let you off because we are related by blood, so know your place. Do you really want to force me to kill you? Long Mixu gritted her teeth so heavily that they were about to shatter. When Long Beishuan heard this, he stared right at her and asked, Is that how you beg for help? You were torturing me, you locked me in a place, imprisoning me and force-feeding me. What do you want to do? I am a person and not an animal. I am the 7th prince of the 10,000 Dragon Empire. I am the future emperor of the 10,000 Dragon Empire. What are you even? You are just a girl. You haven't married anyone and just spent your time plotting against others. Do you really think that you can become an empress? Long Beishuan pointed at Long Mixu and scolded furiously. Long Mixu's face was ice cold. She was so furious that she shuddered. She was extremely furious. I will kill you now. Long Mixu pulled out her sword and walked over. Her eyes were filled with sharp killing intent. Long Beishuan shivered from fear and said right away, Quick, 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 protect me. This crazy woman is coming. Daimei Holy Land's 2 Dao Saint moved forwards. La Mo, why don't we each take one of the Dao Saints? Heavenheart smiled and asked. La Mo's eyes lit up. He couldn't win the 2 but he was definitely strong enough to fight 1 against 1. But your body? La Mo said worryingly. Don't worry, I won't die. I will definitely be able to delay some time. Heavenheart said honestly. I was heavily injured and unable to kill you, but I was definitely able to delay him for a certain amount of time. Good, I have been infuriated for a long while now. Eat my move. La Mo grabbed the spirit-breaking blade and slashed viciously with the blade technique. The blade energy was like a ravaging river. The aura was as firm as a giant mountain as it covered one of the Dao Saints, forcing him to fight. When Heavenheart saw this, he waved his sleeves and said, "Come over to my Buddha country in the palm." The remaining Daimei Holy Land Dao Saint was covered and both he and Heavenheart disappeared. Long Beishuan was stunned. The two Dao Saints protecting him had totally disappeared. La Mo dragged one down. Heavenheart delayed another. Now, he was all alone. The world was huge, the universe was wide and vast, and he was not facing it alone. The key was that there was a fierce woman who was about to kill him. His sister. Long Mingzu. She had an ice-cold expression and walked over with a weapon in her hand. It was like opening your eyes and seeing the king of hell bringing the cow-headed horse, walking towards you. In your heart, you would know that you were going to say goodbye to the world. Long Beishuan knew that he was in trouble. Putong. Long Beishuan knelt on the ground and teared up. He begged, "Sister, don't kill me. I am stupid and bad and useless. I am nothing at all, but I am your brother." Long Mingzu walked in front of Long Beishuan and looked at him coldly. She held her sword and pointed it at Long Beishuan. The cold sword caused Long Beishuan's skin to freeze up. He knew with certainty that if this sword slashed down he would definitely die. "Sister, for the sake of father, mother, and grandfather, please let me live." Long Beishuan begged. His mouth was like a machine gun, like a Gatling gun whose barrel had turned red from overheating. He spat one sentence after another like he was rapping. "Sister, I am willing to be just a piece of trash to be reared by you. I am willing to be imprisoned, I am willing. Sister, I am even willing to be your horse. Give me a few girls and I will help mother give birth to a few children, so she can have grandchildren. Sister, don't kill me." Long Beishuan cried and shouted. He was really afraid as he could sense that Long Mingzu was for real. "I am sorry, I forgot to tell you something." Long Mingzu said calmly. "What?" Long Beishuan raised his head. "You were adopted." Long Mingzu closed her eyes and stabbed forwards. Chapter 106, World-Breaking Blade. With one slash, Long Mingzu ended Long Beishuan's begging. The last thing Long Beishuan saw in his life was still his little sister, who he had a love-hate relationship with. When they were young, they were extremely close to one another and Long Beishuan really relied on Long Mingzu. This was also the reason why Long Mingzu let Long Beishuan live even though he had plotted to claim her life. But some time ago, their relationship had changed. Maybe it changed for the first time when Long Beishuan thought about fighting for the throne. Every one of them were children of the emperor, so why did they all have the right to fight for the throne and he didn't? Long Beishuan sought his sister's support at the start. He thought that with their close relationship his sister would definitely support him. But Long Mingzu directly rejected him and told Long Beishuan not to join in. She told him to continue being a lord and to live his life with no worries at all. From then on, their relationship started to fracture. As time went on, the crack became larger and larger. It reached the current state where the crack was so huge that it couldn't be fixed. Long Mingzu looked coldly at her brother's corpse and pulled out the sword. Several blood drops fell to the ground like teardrops. She turned around and left without looking back. Long Mingzu looked towards La Mo, "Hand the spirit-breaking blade to me." La Mo didn't hesitate. Even if he could suppress the Daimei Holy Land Dao Saint with the spirit-breaking blade he still tossed it to her. He used his own weapon to continue fighting the Daimei Holy Land Dao Saint. After Long Mingzu got the spirit-breaking blade, she quickly went to grab the 6 demon blades that Heavenheart placed down. "Which one of you knows how to merge them?" Long Mingzu immediately asked Michael and Wu Xianer. Wu Xianer shook her head. Logically speaking, she was just a kid. Michael said, "Let me do it." Long Mingzu retreated from her position and allowed Michael to merge with it. Michael merged with the memories of the angel and he was really knowledgeable. But when he merged with it, as he was weak and didn't have a special body like Lucifer, he was in such an awkward situation. He was only at small saint realm and couldn't help much in this battle. To be able to merge the world-breaking blade was his final contribution. Ka ka ka. He followed the angel's memory, piecing the blades together one by one, connecting the foundations of the 7 blades. Hong! In the distance, Heavenheart's Buddha country was broken. He once again spat out a mouthful of blood and fell on the staircase. Daimei Holy Land's Dao Saint escaped and his aura was really unstable. He was injured but it was much lighter than Heaven Heart's. The moment the Daimei Holy Land Elder came out, he saw Long Beijuan's corpse and his heart sank. He stared furiously at Long Mingzu. You actually dare to kill the 7th Prince of 10,000 Dragon Empire? The elder hollered in rage. I killed him, so what do you want to do? Long Mingzu didn't hesitate at all and admitted that it was her. He didn't want that elder to disrupt Michael from merging with the world-breaking blade. You are asking to die. Daimei Holy Land's elder looked at Long Mingzu in rage. They chose to support Long Beijuan as they felt that he was easy to control. Even if he didn't become the emperor he could choose to head out to control a region. But now that Long Beijuan had been killed, everything they invested was wasted. How could the Daimei Holy Land elder not be angry? Explosion. At that point, the sound of mountains shaking could be heard in the distant sky. That along with an extremely eye-catching blade light struck Gabriel aside. How can the strength of my great Xia Dragonfinch be something that your celestial artifact can handle? Xia Wuxu's arrogant words sounded throughout the sky and everyone could feel his terrifying aura. Blood seeped from the corner of Gabriel's mouth as he stabilized himself in the sky. But one could obviously see that his aura wasn't as strong as Xia Wuxu's. I have not entered Dao Saint and am unable to activate the spirit in the celestial artifact. You are peak Dao Saint and have used the spirit of the great Xia Dragonfinch to knock me aside. What is there to be proud of? Gabriel's face was dark and sunken. Explosion. Xia Wuxu flew over. The great Xia Dragonfinch was in his hand and the energy currents around him were like a dragon and a finch that made him look really heroic. Nothing you say is useful now. You are just weaker than me. That celestial artifact is useless in your hands. I don't mind giving Great Xia Dynasty another celestial artifact. Xia Wuxu looked greedily at the celestial artifact in Gabriel's hand. Then, come and take it yourself. Gabriel replied coldly. Great. Xia Wuxu agreed and was about to step forwards. Hong. Just at that moment, Lucifer's light and darkness domain was ripped open by 20 Dao Saints. The surging impact was something that Xia Wuxu didn't dare to be careless about and he retreated swiftly. Explosion. Terrifying ripples appeared in the sky like meteors smashing into the ground, causing a grey dust storm. With that, everyone was out and surrounded Heavenheart and the others. In front of the world-grade teleportation formation, Heavenheart, who was injured, sat on the ground. Lucifer stood alone with 2 weapons in his hands. There was Gabriel, who held a celestial artifact, and also La Mo, who was forced to enter. The few of them were up against 22 Dao Saints. There was also Xia Wuxu, who held the great Xia Dragonfinch in his hand. This time, you have nowhere to escape. The Crown Prince had been hiding behind and didn't dare to get close. Now, he ran out and said gleefully. We have 22 Dao Saints working together. Even the 10,000 Dragon Empire wouldn't dare to easily offend us. You all are dead. Xia Wuxu stared at Gabriel. He craved that celestial artifact. I just want to kill Long Mingzu and kill them. The Crown Prince expressed his intentions. He definitely couldn't snatch the celestial artifact from Xia Wuxu. With the great Xia Dragonfinch, the 10 Dao Saints under him were no match for him. Heavenheart stared at Xia Wuxu with an ugly expression. If the great Xia Dragonfinch wasn't so strong, he wouldn't have been injured and the situation wouldn't have gotten out of control. Lucifer stepped forwards and said, I once fought 1 against a million, and although I am not as strong as I was in the past, unless 10 of you all die, then it is not possible. I will kill you. Xia Wuxu said coldly. I am your opponent. Gabriel stepped out and pointed his celestial sword forwards. A bright and pure sword energy shot forwards. The entire situation was a spark away from exploding. I feel that we all won't die. Instead, you all are the unlucky ones. Michael suddenly said. Xia Wuxu squinted and said, you aren't even at Great Saint, so what right do you have to say that? At that moment, everyone turned to look at Michael. Michael laughed and raised a terrifying blade in his hand. Using this, Michael smiled with both happiness and confidence. World-breaking blade. La Mo looked at it emotionally. This was the world-breaking blade that their high mountain race had at their peak. Today, you all will have to pay a price. Michael laughed out loud and stabbed it towards the sky above the world-grade teleportation formation. Welcome Master, you can cross the worlds now. Michael hollered and knelt down emotionally. Chapter 107, King descends. The Bank of the Universe. Li Xiandao and Seven were both at the Bank of the Universe and watched what happened in the ancient desolate land. Li Xiandao was expressionless when he saw Xia Wuxu use the great Xia Dragonfinch to injure Heaven Heart. Seven, who was to the side, said softly, "This great Xia Dragonfinch looks quite beautiful. It seems useful for cutting timber." Li Xiandao added. "It seems like he can't win him." Seven looked at the situation and said. Li Xiandao stared expressionlessly and said, "There is no need to win, look at Michael." Li Xiandao saw the main issue right away. Although the fight was vicious and intense, as long as Michael wasn't injured and nothing happened to him, then they would definitely win. As expected, everyone's eyes were attracted toward Lucifer, Heaven Heart, and Gabriel. No one cared about Michael, who was hiding behind and quietly combining the world-breaking blade. Michael has succeeded. Seven smiled. Li Xiandao saw that Michael had sliced open the world barrier, allowing the world-grade teleportation formation to function. He sucked in a deep breath and said, "Now is the time to cross worlds. People from the Bank of the Universe can't get injured for no reason." Seven agreed with Li Xiandao crossing worlds. Ancient desolate land, I am coming. Li Xiandao stepped out expressionlessly. Explosion. This step brought Li Xiandao into the teleportation formation. The huge Bank of the Universe also started to shake. Li Xiandao brought the entire Bank of the Universe into the world-grade teleportation formation. Ancient desolate land, black soil land. Along with Michael stabbing the world-breaking blade towards the sky, a giant hole appeared. The world-grade teleportation formation was also activated and started to rotate. The diagrams around started to shake profusely. A light blue light covered the entire world-grade teleportation formation, and directly pressed down on the ground, causing the whole area to shake. Hong! A terrifying aura spread all around, causing everyone's bodies to jolt. The Crown Prince couldn't take a blow and knelt right to the ground. A Dao Saint could take it, but after all, the Crown Prince was just a small saint. What happened? The Crown Prince looked on in horror and wanted to stand up. However, this terrifying aura was like a giant mountain that pressed onto his spine. He couldn't move at all. Even Dao Saints looked on solemnly and were all filled with disbelief. A terrifying pressure spread out from the light blue teleportation formation like a demon was about to be unsealed. Explosion. Moreover, this pressure was starting to spread. Even Xia Wuxu frowned and hollered in rage, "With me here, do you want to cross worlds? You should ask whether my great Xia Dragonfinch agrees." Xia Wuxu's eyes were filled with rage as he slashed with the great Xia Dragonfinch. Explosion. A few hundred feet of blade energy appeared and flew downwards to destroy the formation. Explosion. The attack was really strong and the great Xia Dragonfinch clashed with the world-crossing aura. A dragon and a finch surrounded the blade light, which looked really terrifying and bright. It caused Michael's expression to change. He activated the spirit of the great Xia Dragonfinch. Michael frowned. The celestial artifact not only had celestial seals, but they also had spirits. Opening the celestial seal meant that one was able to totally release the ability of the celestial artifact. Activating the spirit could raise its strength by several times and give rise to unexpected outcomes. Gabriel was unable to activate the spirit of the celestial sword, which was why he lost to Xia Wuxu. "I will block it," Gabriel said solemnly. He held his celestial artifact and wanted to stand up. But at this moment, a voice spread out from the teleportation formation, "Let him try." When Gabriel heard that it was Master, he retreated and didn't do anything. Xia Wuxu's blade hacked right toward the teleportation formation. Explosion. The storm it caused was enormous, like a giant stone being thrown into a calm river, destroying the peace and quiet. Explosion. Great Xia Dragonfinch was really strong and terrifying. It was truly a killing celestial artifact. But its strike didn't shatter the world-grade teleportation formation. That was because the formation was something that it couldn't defeat. Dong dong dong. A terrifying ripple spread out from within the formation. The attack was intense and filled with Li Xiandao's rage. "You are asking to die." Li Xiandao's voice was really loud, shaking one's eardrums. It was as if a mortal had insulted a god. Flames of rage spurted out. Pang! An enormous aura smacked the great Xia Dragonfinch away and there was no chance of it fighting back at all. As for Xia Wuxu, he was struck by this aura and he spat out fresh blood. He fell to the ground and his face was filled with shock. What kind of terrifying realm is that? One could see fear and terror on Xiaoyuxu's face. These were emotions that he had never felt over these 100-odd years he had the great Xia Dragonfinch with him. With the great Xia Dragonfinch in his hand, he didn't fear anyone in the ancient desolate land. But now he was really terrified. Dong dong dong. The world-grade teleportation formation became brighter and brighter. The light intensified and blinded one's eyes. The aura became heavier and heavier, like ripples that were spreading out non-stop. Explosion. At the start, only the crown prince knelt on the ground, but as the pressure increased, the weakest Dao Saint couldn't handle it. He fell to the ground and knelt too. Since there was a first, then there would be another. More and more people knelt down until all 22 of them were kneeling in front of the teleportation formation. Their faces were filled with struggle as they tried their best to stand up. Explosion. But the pressure continued and it spread in all directions. It was really terrifying, such that they all didn't dare to raise their heads. As for the crown prince, he was now flat on the ground. He raised his head and hollered in rage. I am the crown prince, the future emperor of the 10,000 Dragon Empire, I can't be insulted like this. Dong. Shortly after, an aura covered him and pressed his head down onto the black soil. At that moment, the handsome crown prince became a beggar whose face was covered in black dirt. Welcome, Master. Heavenheart took in a deep breath and knelt down while shouting loudly. Lucifer, Wu Xianer, Michael, Lucifer, Gabriel, and the others knelt on the ground with sincere looks of respect on their faces as they welcomed their supreme master. Only one person wasn't kneeling. It was Xiaoyuxu. Even as wave after wave of heavy pressure pushed against him, he still gritted his teeth and used the great Xia Dragonfinch to support his body. He hollered, I am the user of the great Xia Dragonfinch. I represent the face of the great Xia Dragonfinch and I won't kneel unless I die. When the great Xia Dragonfinch saw this, it let out the roar of a dragon and the cry of a finch like it was replying to Xiaoyuxu's determination. Kneel. But in the next second, Li Xiandao's cold voice spread out from within the teleportation formation. He had arrived in ancient desolate land with the Bank of the Universe. The king had arrived. Pang! Xiaoyuxu's knees went soft and he knelt down. Chapter 108, Strength of One Sword. How? How? Is that possible? Xiaoyuxu struggled to ask. He tried his best to raise his head to take a look at Li Xiandao's face, but he couldn't. The enormous pressure forced him to lower his head. He could only look at Li Xiandao's legs as he knelt down in front of him. He was unable to see Li Xiandao's face at all. Li Xiandao said expressionlessly, there is nothing impossible in this world. Do you think one useless blade can stop me from crossing worlds? Who are you? Xiaoyuxu asked. He was unwilling to admit defeat. I am someone who you will never be able to defeat. Li Xiandao said calmly. He didn't look at Xiaoyuxu and looked around instead. More than 20 Dao saints all knelt down like they were worshipping a god as they faced Li Xiandao. But their faces were filled with reluctance. They all tried their best to struggle and break free from the pressure. Li Xiandao looked towards Heavenheart. He was badly hurt, but the injuries weren't fatal. There was also Lucifer, Gabriel, Michael, Long Mingzu, etc. All of them were unharmed. They lowered their heads and waited for Li Xiandao to speak. It seems like you are too weak. These Dao saints are so useless and can be wiped out just with a flick of a finger. However, you all actually nearly failed. Li Xiandao said calmly. Once this matter ends, all of you need to cultivate to improve yourselves. Li Xiandao said in an unhappy tone. Logically speaking, his 4 angels should have been able to sweep this entire battlefield, but apart from fallen angel Lucifer, the other 2 hadn't reached Dao Saint and were slightly weaker. Master, we will work hard to improve ourselves, Lucifer said. Li Xiandao nodded his head. He turned around and looked at the 22 Dao Saints on the ground. This included the 23rd Dao Saint, Xiaoyuxu. You all tried to stop me from crossing worlds, so you all have to die. But since I am kind-hearted, I will give you all a chance. Li Xiandao raised one finger and said calmly. Receive one sword from me, and if you don't die you all can leave. When Li Xiandao said this, he smiled. This smile totally infuriated the 23 Dao Saints. You are strong and you came here from another world, but you can't treat us like animals, okay? They were all Dao Saints. They didn't take drugs or special medicine and only cultivated slowly and honestly. In his eyes, 23 Dao Saints wouldn't be able to block one sword? You are suppressing us like this, so how are we supposed to block? One of them said unhappily. That's true. It is a little unfair to suppress you like this. Xiandao nodded his head and said. He then retracted his aura. Explosion. The mountain-like pressure retreated like a flood. Every one of them was able to slowly stand up and move about. The 23 Dao saints and the crown prince all heaved a sigh of relief as they didn't feel any more pressure. But when they looked at Xiandao, who stood with his arms behind his back, the invisible pressure returned. Many people stared at Xiandao. He wore his black robe and gold mask and just stood there quietly with his hands behind his back. His calm demeanor gave off no signs of nervousness at all. Especially Xiaoyuxu. He looked at Xiandao and realized that he was unable to read his skill level. He was unable to tell anything at all. Xiandao standing there gave off a feeling like he was the only thing left in the world and he just attracted one's gaze. Strong. Everyone knew that Xiandao was strong, but how strong was he really? No one knew. What are we afraid of? How can 23 Dao saints be afraid of him? Among them, one of the Dao saints had a fiery personality and he scoffed coldly. Many people agreed with his words and they nodded their heads. We will go all out, but can one of his swords kill all of us? That is not possible, he won't be able to do it. All of us split the damage. Right, we will split it up. 23 Dao saints looked past their past grievances and worked together to fight against Xiandao. No, it should have been to receive Xiandao's sword. Xiaoyuxu was among them. He was arranged last and he would use the Great Xia Dragonfinch to hold down the fort and ensure the stability of the formation. Otherwise, if the people at the front couldn't block the attacks and those at the back couldn't hold on, then the whole formation would end up collapsing. Xiandao pressed his hands behind his back and looked calmly at them discussing. My patience is limited. We are done. At this point, the 23 of them were lined up and they formed into a long snake formation. All of their powers were combined and used to block Xiandao's strike. Are you ready? Xiandao looked on expressionlessly and then casually struck out. His fingers were placed together like a sword and he struck forwards. His body was like a drawn bow that shot forwards. After he attacked, Xiandao's body relaxed. Xiandao looked on calmly. That strike would be a tough one for them to block. Explosion. A thread of sword energy shot out. In that instant, the sword energy turned into a big river. The big river surged forwards aggressively like the Milky Way hanging in the sky. Big river sword slashing from the heavens. This strike caused the 20-odd Dao saints to grit their teeth and holler in unison. Concentrate your powers. All of them concentrated their strength together and then struck forwards. Dong dong dong. This strike from 23 Dao saints was enough to wipe out a mountain. They could destroy a river and also shatter a city. But in front of Xiandao's big river sword energy, they were no match for him at all. All their attempts and strikes collapsed instantly. Clang! Sword energy was gathered in front of his body while behind him was the river of the 9 skies that descended along with the Milky Way. Explosion! Their strength was not great enough at all for a head-on clash. The attack from the 23 Dao saints struck the big river sword but shattered into many pieces. The momentum of the big river sword wasn't reduced at all and it continued to slash forwards. Behind him, the water of the big river swallowed up all the energy to strengthen the attack. Peng peng peng. It really sounded like an ancient dragon was roaring. The ground started to shake and cracks appeared in the sky. Numerous streaks of light surged into this strike. When Gabriel saw these scenes, he was in awe. This was big river sword energy. The true big river sword energy was so terrifying. The energy of the big river came from the sky. This aura was right. Explosion. The big river sword energy pierced the body of the first Dao saint. Its power didn't reduce and continued through the second, third, fourth, fifth. Each Dao saint didn't have time to react at all and they were pierced through one by one. The big river sword energy pointed right at their temples. Xiaoyuxu, who was the last person, had his eyes wide open when he saw these scenes. He quickly used the Great Xia Dragonfinch to block. Kaka. Xiandao's sword energy struck the Great Xia Dragonfinch. The sword energy shattered and broke into many pieces. But the terrifying power that came with it caused Xiaoyuxu to cough out blood. He flew a few thousand meters back and smacked heavily onto the ground. He was on his dying breaths. Xiandao frowned when he saw this as he didn't expect Xiaoyuxu to actually use the Great Xia Dragonfinch to save his own life. Li Xiandao was really amazing, but one attack from him was definitely unable to shatter the great Xia Dragon Finch. Da-da-da. Li Xiandao walked towards Xia Wuxu. What do you want to do? I blocked your sword energy and didn't die. You were the one who said it, you have to stick to your promise. Xia Wuxu coughed. His face was all tensed up and he was in immense pain. But what he was more afraid of was of Li Xiandao slashing him again. He was really afraid. Li Xiandao stopped 100 meters away from him and gave a teasing smile. Chapter 109, He is my sister from a different mother. When the great Xia Dragon Finch, a curved blade, was held in one's hand, it was able to raise one's confidence and fighting strength. The great Xia Dragon Finch was a light silver color and looked really beautiful. It was as if one had the moon in one's hand. This was a celestial artifact. It was something that the ancestor of the great Xia dynasty got. It was passed down generation by generation until now and had been protecting the great Xia dynasty. The great Xia dynasty had never lost the great Xia Dragon Finch. But all this was part of history now. The great Xia Dragon Finch was in front of Li Xiandao and was trembling slightly. It sensed that Li Xiandao was getting closer and closer. To the great Xia Dragon Finch, Li Xiandao was really dangerous. It was trembling and screaming for its protector. Unfortunately, Xia Wuxu could only look towards Li Xiandao with a pained expression as he watched him slowly pick it up. Clang! The great Xia Dragon Finch was in Li Xiandao's hand. This celestial artifact looked like a crescent moon. It looked really beautiful due to how thin and light it was. Its two sides were the blade sheaths and only the middle portion was extremely sharp. When the sheaths were combined together, it became a normal curved blade. When one pulled open the great Xia Dragon Finch from both sides, one could see a perfect arc. Li Xiandao reached out and slowly pulled it open. In the bright summer day, a crescent moon appeared which resonated with the sun in the sky. What are you doing? Don't touch my great Xia Dragon Finch. Let it go. Xia Wuxu hollered in rage. At that moment, he was terrified. The great Xia Dragon Finch was the foundation of the great Xia dynasty. They could lose anything but the great Xia Dragon Finch. The great Xia Dragon Finch had been passed down for 30,000 years and if he lost it, then he would be their greatest sinner and he wouldn't be able to make up for it. My bank lacks a blade to cut timber. This one is not bad. I can take it back and use it to cut trees. Li Xiandao nodded. He didn't bother about Xia Wuxu and just muttered to himself. Put down my great Xia Dragon Finch, you thief! Xia Wuxu hollered in rage. Li Xiandao's face turned cold. He turned around and stared coldly at Xia Wuxu. Thief! Li Xiandao laughed coldly. If I recall, you were also eyeing Gabriel's sword. So, at that time, you weren't a thief. This matter has nothing to do with your great Xia dynasty, but you chose to interfere and you nearby spoiled all my plans. Now, you have the courage to make so much noise there. Li Xiandao stared at Xia Wuxu. I beg you, please return the great Xia Dragon Finch to me. Xia Wuxu cried. Great Xia dynasty couldn't lose the great Xia Dragon Finch. Li Xiandao mocked. Now, this isn't the great Xia Dragon Finch. It looks similar to a crescent moon, so I will call it the full moon. No. 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 You can't do this, the blade is my great Xia dynasty's great Xia Dragon Finch. Xia Wuxu ignored his own injuries, wanting to charge over to snatch the great Xia Dragon Finch. But, it was now called the full moon. Scram! Li Xiandao casually waved his sleeves. With a loud thud, Xia Wuxu flew backward and smacked into the ground. I already said that I won't kill the person who blocked my attack, but that is if you don't keep asking to die. This is your first warning and if you try this again you will die. Li Xiandao said coldly. He turned around and kept the great Xia Dragon Finch, which was now called the full moon, into the bank of the universe. No. Xia Wuxu's eyes blacked out and he fainted. Since he lost the great Xia Dragon Finch, did he still have the dignity to return to the great Xia dynasty? Without the celestial artifact protecting them, could the great Xia dynasty continue? Just looking at the High Mountain race and one would know. After they lost the world-breaking blade, the High Mountain race had broken apart. With such huge pressure on his body, how could Xia Wuxu not faint? Out of the 23 Dao saints, 22 of them were killed by Li Xiandao in one sword. Xia Wuxu fainted and thus the only people who remained were the men under Li Xiandao, Crown Prince and La Mo. Unlike how La Mo was standing there respectfully, the Crown Prince understood the situation. He buried his head into the ground, using the black soil to cover himself and act like a corpse. He acted like he was dead. The Crown Prince's heart was beating quickly. He really didn't expect that things would reach such a stage. Long Mixu's helper crossed the worlds and he had terrifying strength. He had to report this matter to his father so that he would punish Long Mixu. Of course, the prerequisite would be that he could return alive. Long Mixu stared coldly at the Crown Prince. She walked close and poked him. "Oi, it is morning." Long Mixu teased. The Crown Prince didn't move at all, he really was a corpse and wasn't breathing at all. Long Mixu burst out laughing, "Is it very fun playing like this?" The Crown Prince didn't move at all. Even if he was panicking and afraid that she would find out that he was alive, he continued to brainwash himself. "You are a corpse. You are a corpse. You are a corpse." The brainwashing was somewhat effective. He just rested on the ground, poking his head into the black soil and didn't move at all. "The dead do not breath." Long Mixu squatted down and said calmly. "I am not breathing." The Crown Prince subconsciously replied. "What about now?" Long Mixu laughed coldly. "You can still talk. I can't swallow this final breath." The Crown Prince was a little annoyed. "Why don't you let me help you?" Long Mixu said gently. No, I shall not swallow my final breath then. It seems like the heavens don't want me to die, so I am alive now. Isn't that quite miraculous?" The Crown Prince crawled out from the black soil and laughed out loud. What he saw was the expressionless Li Xiandao. Putong. The Crown Prince kneeled down and swallowed his saliva. "Big brother, I was wrong, I really was. Please let me live, I am willing to do anything. You and Long Beishuan really are blood related." Li Xiandao teased. Long Mixu's face turned dark. These two princes had really lost the honor of the royal family. "Big brother, I am really useful and I eat very little too. I have small saint cultivation. If you let me live, I will definitely listen to anything you say." The Crown Prince gave a thumbs up and swore firmly. "Long Mixu, you decide whether or not we should let him live." Li Xiandao said. He gave her a choice. The Crown Prince looked at her right away and tried to charm her. "Sister, I am your blood brother." "Sorry, I was adopted." Long Mixu replied coldly. "What a coincidence, actually I was adopted too." The Crown Prince laughed and said seriously, "My mother told me from a young age that I was adopted. The Crown Prince then died, so they adopted me, and then I became the Crown Prince. What a coincidence. From now onward, you are my sister from a different mother. Sister, please let me kowtow to you. Once more. And again. To live." The Crown Prince was going all out. Li Xiandao was impressed while the other people were speechless. Long Mixu took in a deep breath and looked at the Crown Prince with a firm expression. Chapter 110, The Storm Comes. Long Mixu looked at the Crown Prince and asked, "Are you willing to give up the throne?" The Crown Prince said without any hesitation, "Of course. So many people are fighting for that dumb spot and I have long been sick of it. I swear that from now on I won't fight for that position. However, if I don't fight for it and since our brother Long Beishuan has died, then who will take over?" The Crown Prince asked curiously. "Me." Long Mixu said without any hesitation. The Crown Prince's pupils constricted and he didn't expect that Long Mixu would actually have such a plan. He took in a deep breath and said loudly, "Okay. As expected from my ambitious sister. Ancient desolate land has never had an empress, so since you want to be the first, then as a brother I will definitely do my best to help you." The Crown Prince clapped his hands. Long Mixu looked at how the Crown Prince was behaving and said calmly, "I don't care whether what you are saying is real or fake. You have seen my master's ability and I can ensure that he will allow you to leave this beautiful world silently." The Crown Prince nodded his head and knelt down. "Sister's master is my master. Master, please let me kowtow to you. Stand up. Long Mixu gave you a chance and didn't kill you. It all depends on your future performance. If you do well, I can ensure that you will live peacefully, but if you try to backstab her, I will make you leave this world." Li Xiandao said coldly. "Yes master, I will try my best to help sister get to the throne." The Crown Prince said respectfully. In his heart, he felt really bitter. If he didn't have the utmost confidence, then he wouldn't dare to betray her. Wouldn't it be so simple for Li Xiandao's men to kill him? It was already really difficult for him to live from all that. The crown prince stood there in a well-behaved manner like a wife who was just following orders. Li Xiandao looked at La Mo, the only outsider present. La Mo was really nervous. This Li Xiandao was too strong and too mysterious. With the golden mask on his face, he looked like those types of enemy faction bosses. Take the world-breaking blade. Li Xiandao said calmly. Michael passed the extremely sharp world-breaking blade over to Li Xiandao. Li Xiandao reached out and clutched the world-breaking blade. Another celestial artifact. The world-breaking blade was similar to the Great Xia Dragonfinch and was extremely terrifying. They were the extreme form of killing weapons. The difference was that the Great Xia Dragonfinch had cruel slicing ability while the world-breaking blade had world-breaking ability. If the world-breaking blade hadn't been able to break the world barrier, Li Xiandao wouldn't have been able to come over. The world-breaking blade was really heavy and it felt like he was holding a mountain in his hand. The tip was really sharp and with a slight touch, he could stab open the sky. This was a really terrifying celestial artifact. La Mo looked nervously at Li Xiandao. Was he going to go back against his words? Li Xiandao saw how nervous he was and found it amusing. He tossed it and said, "We agreed that after merging I would just use it for a while before returning. Now, I am sticking to the promise. Take it." La Mo fumbled as he grabbed the world-breaking blade. He was really emotional and tears filled his eyes. 30,000 years and the world-breaking blade has finally merged. It has finally appeared in our high mountain race. We finally have a chance to rise back up. High mountain race's cultivation techniques for the latter realms were in the world-breaking blade. So, with the world-breaking blade, they all had renewed hope. Li Xiandao looked at how happy he was and said, "Let me gift you something since you helped Heaven Heart." "What?" La Mo looked at Li Xiandao with a stunned expression. Li Xiandao opened his hand and a red watch laid quietly in his palm. "What is that?" La Mo asked curiously. "This is a magical thing. Quickly thank Master. Who knows how many people want to get it." Heaven Heart smiled and rushed to La Mo. "Oh, thank you Master." La Mo said right away. After he said this, he came to his senses. He wasn't Li Xiandao's servant, so why did he call him Master? Li Xiandao laughed and turned around. He said, "Since we are here at ancient desolate land we have to make our plans. If we are fated, then we will meet again." Li Xiandao disappeared and entered the Bank of the Universe. Heaven Heart said to La Mo, "If you face any problems or danger, then shatter the watch." The moment he said this, Heaven Heart disappeared too. Gabriel, Michael, Lucifer, Wu Xiener, Long Mixu and also the Crown Prince disappeared. Even the world-grade teleportation formation was absorbed into the Bank of the Universe. The wide, black soil land was in a mess. Only La Mo was standing there alone with the world-breaking blade in his hand. In the distance, Xia Wuxu fainted and still hadn't woken up. A total of more than 20 corpses were laid out on the ground. They were truly a tragic sight. All this showed how intense that battle was just now. La Mo looked at the red watch in his hands and for some reason he felt like this watch was more important than the world-breaking blade. He kept it and then took the world-breaking blade back to the High Mountain Race. High Mountain Race couldn't remain split anymore. With the world-breaking blade, they would have a reason to be reunited once more. Within the Bank of the Universe, the moment the Crown Prince entered, he was in total awe. He had many questions. He looked towards Long Mixu and hoped that she could give him the answers. But when Long Mixu looked at the Bank of the Universe, she was also in a daze. She had traded here once, but that was only one time. Apart from the main hall, she wasn't familiar with the other areas. This why Long Mixu started to act proud and cold like someone who was familiar with this place. She followed Heaven Heart and the rest to where Li Xiandao was resting. "Master." They all respectfully lined up. "Long Mixu, bring the Crown Prince to rest. After you rest, then you can leave the Bank of the Universe and head to Shengjing to plan for the throne." Li Xiandao was sitting in the chair and said coldly. "I will bring you all to rest." Seven smiled gently. Long Mixu left along with Seven in a well-behaved manner. The Crown Prince was at a loss and just followed. He just felt that this place was noble and high above. "You have all done well. Although there were some setbacks, after all, this was your first time working together." Li Xiandao said with satisfaction. Heaven Heart and the rest listened on quietly. "I am a fair person and give both rewards and punishment. You have all worked hard and tried your best, so from now onwards, you can head to the 10,000 country book depository to heal up and raise your cultivation. All of you are just too weak now. Li Xiandao said unhappily. Thank you, master. All of them said respectfully. Li Xiandao waved his hands and asked them to leave. Right, master. Tian Guangming still hasn't appeared. Since he was provoked and motivated last time in Shengjing, he hadn't appeared. Heaven Heart was worried. He wasn't worried that anything would happen to Tian Guangming, but he was worried that he would cause problems. Li Xiandao's eyes were really deep and he saw a glimpse of the future. He said, Tian Guangming has his own encounters in life. If he doesn't work hard, he will really be the weakest. All of you don't have to worry about him. Chapter 111, Tian Guangming's Chance. Ancient desolate land. Outside Shengjing there was a famous waterway that was connected to all areas. Numerous merchant ships sailed in and out of this place. This was the waterway that was connected to the city. At the pier, many people looked hurried as they ran up and down. Many merchant ships entered and exited the pier at any moment. Tian Guangming was here. He was waiting for someone. Since he sensed that feeling of danger in the residence, he had been thinking of a way. How could he raise his strength? He was thinking about it and the key was still god divinities. Michael, Gabriel, and Lucifer were all normal people before this. The moment they got the divinities and merged with them, they became totally different people. Their cultivations increased swiftly like they were on drugs. No, even performance-enhancing drugs wouldn't raise their cultivation so quickly. Since other people could do it, then why couldn't he? Tian Guangming knew that his talent was weak and it was near impossible for him to cultivate other techniques. His progress was really slow and only by cultivating the great light bright fist could he improve in a stable manner. He was the son of the light. He needed to find a primordial divinity that was a perfect match for his element. After leaving Gabriel, Tian Guangming found someone. Long Mixu's best friend, the top intelligence seller in Shengjing, Sister Min. The servant under her. When Long Mixu came to find Sister Min, Tian Guangming had a good chat with this servant. While they were chatting, Tian Guangming noticed a piece of information. This servant received a bunch of treasures and in it was a weird-looking stone. It was milk white and really beautiful. There seemed to be a winged person carved into it. The servant asked someone to investigate that thing and noticed that it was a beautiful stone. While talking to Tian Guangming, he accidentally mentioned it and Tian Guangming picked up on it right away. Diamond-shaped, milk white, winged stone? Tian Guangming's heart stopped. He was afraid that he wouldn't be able to get a decent answer, so he continued to bait him into answering his questions. In the end, he confirmed that no matter what method he used, the stone wouldn't be destroyed. This slave wanted to keep it as a collectible, but Tian Guangming dragged him and said that he wanted to take a look. If the item was fine, then he would purchase it. Of course, the slave agreed. After all, he was unable to research anything from that stone. They found many experts but were unable to find out anything about it. Since Tian Guangming wanted it, he would gladly give it up. Just like that, Tian Guangming suppressed his emotions and waited at the pier. The sun hadn't even appeared and under the dim light of candles, the pier in the morning was filled with many different people. They must be building the world-grade teleportation formation now. Tian Guangming stood to the side and thought about it with melancholy. He wanted to help. But thinking about it, his cultivation was no different from that piece of trash. Even Wu Xianer could defeat him, so what help could he provide? I cannot become the weakest one. Tian Guangming swore. Even if he was the second weakest, he would be satisfied. Anyway, he just didn't want to be the weakest. Wait, once I get this divinity-like thing, I will go and help you all. Tian Guangming was filled with anticipation and hope. If Michael and the others faced problems when they were building the teleportation formation and offended too many people, he would land from the sky. After merging with the divinity, his strength would increase, and when the time came, he would be able to turn the tides and sweep the enemy. He would be able to say those words. I am the White Emperor, all of you kneel before me. Thinking about it, Tian Guangming couldn't help but laugh. It felt really great just thinking about it. Pa! A palm slapped into his shoulder and a middle-aged man asked him curiously, what are you laughing at? Tian Guangming coughed and said, nothing, can we set off now? Of course, everything is settled. The middle-aged man nodded his head. You still haven't told me where we are going. Tian Guangming asked. To my old home where I placed the thing. The middle-aged man said. Don't lie to me. If there is nothing or your description doesn't fit, I will let Princess Long Mingzhu complain to your master and deal with you. Tian Guangming threatened. The middle-aged man patted his chest and assured, don't worry, I am speaking the truth. I promise that once you see it you will believe that it is just as I described. Okay, lead the way. Tian Guangming nodded his head and said. Follow me, I prepared a boat for us to rush to my home. The middle-aged man waved his hand and brought Tian Guangming up to a flatboat. The flatboat traveled on the lake at high speeds and rushed towards the middle-aged man's home. The middle-aged man's home was 3,000 miles from Shengjing. If one traveled on foot, it would take several days, but by boat, one could reach it in a single night. On the morning of the second day, the sky became bright. Tian Guangming and the group got off the boat and reached a small, nameless city. The city wasn't huge and it didn't have a large population. The two of them walked to his home. They pushed open the door and the middle-aged man went to get what Tian Guangming wanted. In just a moment, he walked out with a fist-sized small, white stone in his hand. It was a diamond-shaped stone that was milky white in color. In the center was a person with 12 pairs of wings, curled up like a baby. When Tian Guangming saw this, his eyes opened wide and he almost jumped up in excitement. He really wanted to sing a song to express how happy he felt. He had finally found one. This was a primordial divinity. Tian Guangming was sure that this was it. This was because the angel was the same as Michael and Gabriel. Because he was too emotional, his face turned red. It was like the first time he met his first love, as he was too emotional, he shot too quickly. The humiliation then and that sort of excitement was something Tian Guangming finally felt once more. It seems like this is what you were looking for. The middle-aged man was satisfied. Right, this is what I want. Based on what we agreed, I have prepared the God Source. Tian Guangming said excitedly. Hand the God Source to me and you can take it away. The middle-aged man nodded his head. Tian Guangming handed all his assets to him and then hid deep into the mountains with the divinity. He was afraid that people would find it and steal it from him. Hong hong hong. Deep in the mountains, Tian Guangming was extremely emotional. He used his fist to break several trees before he was able to calm himself down. He then placed the divinity in the sunlight and looked into it. Wait, why does it look more and more off? Tian Guangming was confused. It wasn't that there was something wrong with the divinity. But, the angel inside was a little off. He used the sunlight to look into it and Tian Guangming could see that the angel, maybe, probably, wasn't a guy. It was a female angel. This meant that he couldn't use it. Chapter 112, Tian Guangming's hesitation. Female. 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 Tian Guangming's mood was as bad as when 18sh*t. He changed postures, used his other eye, and continued to stare at the angel and the divinity. Soft, crystal clear feathers and 12 pairs of wings wrapped up the angel. The angel had snow-white skin and smooth hair. Unfortunately, it was long hair. Bad evaluation. Long neck, silky skin, and big breasts. When Tian Guangming saw this, he nearly spat out a mouthful of blood. This was the first time he hadn't gotten excited after seeing a female's naked body and instead, he felt like vomiting. The primordial divinity that he spent so much effort acquiring and the one that he thought could make him stronger was actually totally useless now. He was unable to use it. Why was it a female angel? Tian Guangming laid on a rock and his face was filled with despair. The dozen trees beside him that he had just smacked down in excitement seemed like they were mocking him. Why was it female? Tian Guangming didn't understand. When he finally acquired this divinity after much effort acquiring, it seemed like his luck was about to change. But why was it a female angel? Were the heavens going against him? I need to go ask him whether or not there are any other of these. Tian Guangming calmed himself down and decided to find the middle-aged man. Coincidentally, he hadn't left and answered Tian Guangming's questions. Someone found this in a lake and this is the only one. Since it looked quite decent, he sent it to me. There isn't a second one. Tian Guangming sighed. What happened? It isn't what you wanted. The middle-aged man asked curiously. I want it but I don't want a female one, I want a male one. Tian Guangming waved his hand and left dejectedly. Are you crazy? How can a stone be split into male and female? Is there something wrong with your brain? The middle-aged man watched as he left and dissed. Tian Guangming returned to Shengjing with the divinity. He wanted to find Michael and the others to chat to see if there were any other possibilities. However, only a few maids and servants were left in the large manor. Michael and the rest were nowhere to be seen. All of them are gone. Tian Guangming sighed. He looked at the divinity in his hand and was filled with both love and hate. At night, Tian Guangming entered the hotel and laid on the bed. The primordial divinity laid beside his head. Tian Guangming closed his eyes and collected his sad emotions. He started to think about how to find a second one. Since there is a first, then there must be a second one. I will definitely be able to find one with a suitable element. Tian Guangming swore. Why must you reject me? A sigh rang out in Tian Guangming's ear. Tian Guangming sat up right away and looked towards the primordial divinity. Are you talking? Tian Guangming asked curiously. You are the lucky son of light and I am the light divinity, so why must you reject me? It spoke with a tone of disappointment. You are a female angel, I don't want to become female. Tian Guangming rejected. He was a proper man and definitely wouldn't become a girl just for power. Definitely not. This doesn't make sense. I have seen several primordial divinities and all of them weren't able to speak. How can you communicate with me? Tian Guangming was confused. How many primordial divinities have you seen? The voice asked. Have you heard of Battle Angel Michael and Archangel Gabriel? Tian Guangming asked. I have. They haven't been wiped out yet. The voice said. Nope. With my master's help, they have returned to this world. Although they weren't as strong as they were at their peak, they can slowly cultivate. Tian Guangming nodded his head. Your master? The voice was surprised. My master is the most mysterious person in this world. You should believe that Battle Angel Michael and Archangel Gabriel are both under my master. Tian Guangming was delighted. They recognized another person as a master? The voice felt really conflicted. The angel leaders that were supreme and extremely strong in the past had actually recognized someone else as their master? Don't think that way. Have you heard of fallen angel Lucifer? Tian Guangming asked. Of course, the famous fallen angel Lucifer. He was once the god race judicator and was only weaker than the god king. How would I not know him? Fallen angel Lucifer has been awakened and he is under my master too. Tian Guangming said with delight. What? Lucifer is so arrogant and he actually became a subordinate of your master. The voice was filled with shock. Of course, which is why I said that my master is the best in the world and he is the most mysterious person. Tian Guangming said proudly. Then, do you know who I am? The voice asked. You are an angel. You are also from the god race. Tian Guangming asked. I am the angel from the god race, the daughter of light. The angels of the god race all call me the goddess of light, Her Highness Solar. The daughter of light, Her Highness Solar said. You are of the light element and I am too. But unfortunately, you are female and we aren't fated. Tian Guangming shook his head regretfully. Why must you care about gender? As long as you merge with me, you can become the new goddess of light and the title of Her Highness Solar will belong to you. The goddess of light raged. Only a bit of her consciousness woke up. She was definitely unable to fully awaken by herself and had to rely on Tian Guangming. But Tian Guangming rejected her because she was a female angel and that enraged her. I don't want to be a girl, I am a guy. I don't want to give up on my little brother because of power. Tian Guangming firmly objected. Goddess of Light was speechless. Once you merge with me, you can control my power, but you won't become a female. You are you and I am me. She said seriously. His eyes shone brightly. If that is the case, then in the future, can you abandon me and break away from me? She didn't say anything. As expected, you are just treating me as a fool and as a backup. I'll merge with you and you will use my power to recover. Then, you will kick me aside. You will become that supreme goddess of light while I will be nothing in the end. Tian Guangming laughed coldly as he unraveled her plan. He was not young anymore and had experienced many losses in life. You misunderstood, she wanted to explain. I didn't misunderstand anything. If you want to cheat me, I will bring you to see my master and let him punish you. Tian Guangming tossed the primordial divinity into his storage space and didn't give her another chance to speak. He continued to lay on the bed. He couldn't help but feel fortunate. Luckily, I have experienced many things in life, otherwise, there's a high chance that I would have been persuaded. Chapter 113, 3 Choices. Shengjing. Long Mingzhu and the Crown Prince returned. On the surface they seemed like water and fire, going their separate ways and returning to their own manners. Of course, apart from the two of them, Michael and the others didn't appear. When Tian Guangming saw Long Mingzhu return, he asked, "Did Master successfully cross over?" Long Mingzhu looked at Tian Guangming and asked curiously, "Where have you been?" "Don't ask me that. Did Master successfully cross over?" Tian Guangming was really depressed when he asked this. Long Mingzhu nodded her head and said, "He did and he is currently resting. Do you want to meet Master?" Tian Guangming didn't reply and just left right away. Long Mingzhu looked at Tian Guangming and frowned, so weird. Did something cause his brain to go haywire? In the Bank of the Universe, Li Xiandao and Seven were discussing what to do next. Li Xiandao suddenly sensed something. As someone with such high cultivation, he was able to sense things and that feeling was really accurate. Tian Guangming might have had something going on with him. Li Xiandao said to Seven. "What thing?" Seven smiled and asked. "I don't know, but let him enter." Li Xiandao activated the power of the Bank of the Universe. Within Shengjing, a black hole appeared in front of Tian Guangming that sucked him in. In the Bank of the Universe, Tian Guangming was shocked. His shock turned to surprise as he asked, "Master, Seven, I was still in Shengjing, so how did I suddenly appear in the Bank of the Universe?" Li Xiandao had the mask on his face and sat there calmly. He looked towards Tian Guangming and said, "This is the power of the bank." After entering ancient desolate land, Li Xiandao unlocked some powers of the Bank of the Universe and he now had an even closer relationship with it. "Are you facing some problems?" Li Xiandao sized up Tian Guangming. He was really unkempt and it was obvious he hadn't been taking care of himself. He looked really disheveled. "Master, I didn't cause any problems, but instead, I found a primordial divinity." Tian Guangming handed the goddess of light primordial divinity over to Li Xiandao. Li Xiandao didn't take it. Instead, he reached out and let the primordial divinity float in the air and circle them. "Where did you get it from?" Seven was shocked. "Hehe, I bought it from a friend." Tian Guangming described in detail what had happened. "Not bad, I was wondering why you didn't join them and build the world-grade teleportation formation." "So, it was because an even better thing was waiting for you." Seven smiled and clapped. She felt happy for Tian Guangming and also for Li Xiandao. Li Xiandao was scrutinizing the primordial divinity, the face hiding under the mask curled up. "Since you have obtained the primordial divinity by yourself and it is of the same element as you, then I shall help you merge with it." Li Xiandao stood up and said. "Congratulations, Master, the fourth angel is about to be born." Seven smiled sweetly. "No, no, no." It was as if Tian Guangming had heard something really terrifying. He shook his head profusely. "Why?" Li Xiandao looked towards Tian Guangming. "It is a female angel, I am not going to merge with it." Tian Guangming said firmly. "So what if it is a female angel?" Li Xiandao asked even though he knew the answer. "I am male." Tian Guangming pointed at his representative feature. Seven choked. She turned and looked at the primordial divinity and studied it closely. "Isn't it good to become female?" Li Xiandao asked. "No." Tian Guangming rejected it firmly. "Once you merge with it, you will have limitless potential." Li Xiandao continued. "I don't want to become female. I don't want to pee squatting down." Tian Guangming continued to shake his head. Li Xiandao sighed regretfully, "Since that is the case, then what are you planning to do now?" "Master, this primordial divinity has the consciousness of the goddess of light and she even talked to me." Tian Guangming reminded. "I sensed it. Goddess of light, will you come out yourself, or do I have to pull you out?" Li Xiandao said calmly. The primordial divinity was silent. Tian Guangming pointed at it and said, "Continue acting. You are a scam. Do you want to treat me as a backup plan?" "Wishful thinking, I will never agree to that." Li Xiandao looked at Tian Guangming curiously, "Why do you say that she is a scam?" Tian Guangming immediately told Li Xiandao what happened last night. He described it in real detail and spoke all his thoughts aloud. Li Xiandao nodded his head, "Since that is the case, then she is indeed a scammer. She craved your body and want to use it to regain strength. Right, isn't she a scammer?" "Master is wise." Tian Guangming finally found someone who agreed with him and pulled Li Xiandao's hand emotionally. Li Xiandao calmly retracted his hand and took several steps back to keep a distance. Who did you call a scammer? I am the goddess of light, who stands high above, allowing you to merge with me is your honor. You even want to take over my primordial divinity. I am just borrowing your body to recover. Aren't I going to bring you benefits too? The goddess of light hiding in the primordial divinity couldn't take it anymore and cursed out in rage. Li Xiandao and Tian Guangming exchanged glances with one another. Then, let me ask you, why must he help you? Li Xiandao said calmly. That is because I am the goddess of light, a supreme angel. I am the daughter of light. Goddess of light was infuriated. It is his honor that I am merging with him. After I leave his body, I will also help him modify his body to let him enter Saint Realm. I am giving him all these benefits, so how am I a scammer? Goddess of Light's questions reverberated throughout the bank of the universe. It is indeed quite a scam. Seven listened and felt a bit awkward. Even she felt awkward listening to those words. How did this goddess of light even have enough shame to say it out loud? Li Xiandao coughed and didn't worry about the goddess of light. He asked Tian Guangming, I will give you a few choices and you can decide by yourself. 1. Merge with it and help the noble goddess of light recover. After she recovers she will help raise your cultivation to Saint Realm. Note, uncertain whether it is small saint or great saint. Tian Guangming laughed. He wanted to break through to Saint Realm, but definitely not in such a foolish way. Secondly, leave this divinity with me in exchange for 10 free chances to read the 10,000 country book depository. Li Xiandao said calmly. Tian Guangming thought about it and felt that it was quite decent too. Thirdly, I will help you pull out her soul from within and leave an empty divinity. You will then merge with it and become a self-controlled angel. Li Xiandao announced the 3 choices and calmly looked at Tian Guangming. You dare to do that? What rights do you have to pull my consciousness out? The goddess of light hollered in rage. Shut up! Li Xiandao frowned. Instantly, the mouth of the goddess of light was sealed. Then, without her consciousness, will I still be male when I merge with it? Tian Guangming asked carefully. Chapter 114, Choose to merge. Tian Guangming looked right at Li Xiandao. He wanted to merge with the primordial divinity to increase his talent and potential. But he didn't want to become a female, especially after being a male for such a long time. This was why he was really conflicted. Li Xiandao took the primordial divinity and said, whether or not you become a female is not up to me, you have to ask your own heart. What do you mean? Tian Guangming was confused. Of course, he wouldn't want to turn into a female. During the process, everything will change based on your heart. Your truest thoughts reveal what will happen. Li Xiandao pointed at Tian Guangming's heart. Then, that is okay, I shall merge with it. Anyway, my heart is a true blue male. Tian Guangming swore. You lay down and then close your eyes. Li Xiandao was really calm. Tian Guangming listened to his words. He was really confident and felt like there was no possibility that he would turn into a girl. Li Xiandao started this familiar series of actions. This was the 4th angel he was helping to merge, so he had long been familiar with this process. Hong! With a flick of his finger, he pulled out the consciousness of the goddess of light. He sealed her mouth and allowed her to struggle all she wanted. She tried to holler in rage but nothing came out. 7 took a jade box and placed the consciousness within. She kept it before saying, what should we do about her? Put her in storage. Maybe we will decide when I think about her. Li Xiandao didn't care much. It was just a consciousness, it was nothing worthy of Li Xiandao's attention. Of course if the goddess did have abilities, she wouldn't have chosen Tian Guangming's body. She should have hid herself and started cultivating to get back into the world. 7 smiled, if you put it in storage now, you might not be able to think about it ever again. Li Xiandao didn't care. If not, then she will be locked up for her entire life. Anyway, we won't lose out on anything. 7 nodded. She too didn't care much about this so-called light angel, Her Highness Solar. There was no consciousness left in the goddess of light primordial divinity. Li Xiandao took it and walked towards Tian Guangming. You must be firm and think about what kind of person you would like to become. Li Xiandao said seriously. Tian Guangming nodded his head. He closed his eyes and started to brainwash himself. I am male. I am male. I am male. Explosion. Li Xiandao dissolved the primordial divinity. Like a stream of light, it surged into Tian Guangming's body. Tian Guangming tensed up and felt that his body was being modified bit by bit. I am male. Tian Guangming hollered loudly, his faith didn't change. Even Li Xiandao was frightened by him. He rolled his eyes, stop doing that, let things take its course. Tian Guangming's body shook a little. He calmed himself down and started to merge with the primordial divinity. Li Xiandao looked on from the side. 7 walked over and said, he won't lose his memory after merging with this, right? No, I took away the consciousness of the goddess of light so there is no common memory. To Tian Guangming, a common memory will be bad, after all, one of them is male and the other is female. Li Xiandao explained. That is true. The way they think will be really different too. 7 nodded her head. Tian Guangming slowly calmed his heart down and immersed in the merger process. For 3 consecutive days, Li Xiandao and 7 observed Tian Guangming. Tian Guangming was sleeping quietly and still hadn't woken up. His cultivation didn't increase by a lot and he only broke through to Saint Realm. To Li Xiandao, small Saint Realm wasn't much now. Tian Guangming and the other 3 angels were different and didn't have a common memory. Thus, he was unable to absorb the power in the primordial divinity and he could only slowly improve himself. Although he would catch up with the rest, in the end, the early stages would depend solely on himself. On the 4th day, Battle Angel Michael, Fallen Angel Lucifer, Archangel Gabriel and Wu Xian'er all came to see Tian Guangming. On the 5th day, he woke up. The first thing he did was pull open his pants and look closely at himself. Phew, it is still there. My little brother is still there. Everything is good. Tian Guangming patted his chest and heaved a sigh of relief. He pressed his middle finger with his thumb and said with a sharp voice. Damn, my voice. Tian Guangming was frightened by his voice. He covered his mouth and looked on in disbelief. He even blinked his eyes. Li Xiandao closed one eye and felt really disgusted. Could you imagine a guy covering his mouth from embarrassment and then subconsciously blinking at you? Michael was speechless. Something went wrong, right? Lucifer was confused. Maybe it activated some sort of potential of his. Gabriel dissed. Will I have to call Tian Guangming elder sister? Wu Xian'er blinked and teased. Stop slandering me. Tian Guangming hollered in rage, but because of his voice, he sounded like an old auntie. After he scolded them, he was stunned right away. What did he just say? Was that what a guy should say? Tian Guangming looked at Li Xiandao and wanted to cry, Master, I don't want to turn into a female. Li Xiandao looked towards 7 and wanted her to explain. Anyway, he really didn't want to see Tian Guangming now. Have you ever seen a person with a mustache talking to you like a girl? 7 said helplessly, you are fine. After all, you merged with a female divinity. It is okay that you have feminine actions and voices. Once you get familiar with the power you will slowly change back. It will change back in the future. Tian Guangming was delighted. He really hated what he had become now. He didn't even have the majesty and might of a male. It will. Of course, if you like what you are now, then you can stay like this. 7 nodded her head and said. No. Tian Guangming stood up and rejected, I am a male and definitely won't do such sissy things. Before saying these words, can you straighten your fingers? Lucifer said coldly. While saying these words, can you stop winking? Gabriel dissed. Sister Tian Guangming, look at me, you should place your fingers like this and it will look better. The way you are doing it looks so awkward. Wu Xian'er placed her fingers in a similar manner and seriously mocked Tian Guangming. Scram! If you continue to call me sister, I will fight you to the death. Tian Guangming roared in rage. Li Xiandao and 7 had long left as those scenes were just unbearable to watch. Are you sure it can be changed? 7 asked Li Xiandao. Li Xiandao told 7 to say those words. Li Xiandao nodded, of course, he can, but what if he starts to enjoy it? 7 thought back to those scenes lasting for a very long time and she shuddered, if he doesn't change and starts to enjoy it, we will go against the contract. We will pay him compensation and then chase him away. Li Xiandao laughed out loud. Chapter 115, Head of Scholars. In the end, Li Xiandao tossed Tian Guangming into the 10,000 country book depository to calm himself down and to control his strength. He also wanted him to stop behaving like a sissy. Li Xiandao had rewarded Michael and the others by letting them enter. So, this could be considered a reward for Tian Guangming too. But this was just once. If they wanted to enter in the future, they had to do so by merit. Within the Bank of the Universe, Li Xiandao and Seven were discussing something. When are you going to help Long Mingzu become the Empress? Seven asked. The contract stated that the Bank of the Universe had to help Long Mingzu become the Empress. Li Xiandao was in deep thought. How much chance do we have to help her become Empress with our current strength? Seven thought about it seriously. If you don't help, then we don't have even a 10% chance. Li Xiandao nodded. I agree. Even if I help her suppress all the experts, other people might be tempted. 10,000 Dragon Empire is so huge and I can't keep paying attention to the 10,000 Dragon Empire just because of Long Mingzu. Li Xiandao could charge into the palace and force the emperor to give his throne to her. But was that useful? No. Li Xiandao heard Long Mingzu mention that the imperial family ancients had to agree to the choice of the next heir. The ancients were the foundations of the 10,000 Dragon Empire. There would be many experts in each generation laying in seclusion within. Unless something huge happened in the 10,000 Dragon Empire or they faced a crisis, they wouldn't appear. The ancients were the core of the 10,000 Dragon Empire. If they didn't agree, then Long Mingzu wouldn't be able to become the Empress. Moreover, even if she became the Empress, without helpers and without an army, people would stage a coup and make her a puppet Empress. This was something that Li Xiandao didn't want to see happen. Seven was deep in thought. This means that Long Mingzu has to have her own army. Since ancient times, power has always been everything. As long as Long Mingzu has an invincible army under her and officials who can help her manage minor issues in the world, then she will be able to stage a coup. Without this, it will be nearly impossible for her to become the Empress. Li Xiandao nodded his head. Then, how should we help her? Seven asked curiously. If Long Mingzu controls the 10,000 Dragon Empire, that means that I control the 10,000 Dragon Empire. When needed, I will lend her an invincible army. Li Xiandao had it planned out. What about officials? Seven said. Since they had an army, then what about people to manage the empire? An army was needed to fight wars, but not to rule people. They still needed a bunch of scholars to support Long Mingzu such that she could control the land she owned. Only then could she suppress and maintain peace in the land. This was something that would take time. Li Xiandao waved his hand. There is no need to rush. We have just arrived in ancient desolate land and are not familiar with anything. Long Mingzu is also still really young. Once we get stronger, we will help her take over the throne. Seven nodded her head and asked, then, what should we do now? Did you forget what our role and job is? Li Xiandao asked her instead. Seven recalled right away, reclaim debts. Right. We have collected nearly everything that Dali land owes us, but nothing from ancient desolate land. Since we are here, we can't let them live on happily without any consequence at all. Li Xiandao scoffed coldly. Although Li Xiandao was really strong now, but he still hadn't forgotten where he came from and what he had to do. Collecting debts was the thing that he paid the most attention to. Seven added, there are many contracts in ancient desolate land. Apart from those that owners have died, there are still many who are waiting for us to deal with them. Which problem needs to be solved the soonest? Li Xiandao asked. He handed this mission over to Seven previously and since then, he didn't bother to look and ask about the contracts. Seven took one out and passed it to Li Xiandao, this one. Li Xiandao took a look at it and then she looked towards her in shock, are you sure? Yes, this is the contract. Seven nodded her head. Li Xiandao looked at the details on the contract. Mortal Zhang Xiao borrowed a sage's cultural intellect from the Bank of the Universe for 10,000 years. In 10,000 years, he will return even more intellect along with his own life. Li Xiandao read it out. How did this mortal manage to loan the sage's intellect? Li Xiandao was shocked. This contract was a mess. 7 dist, this Zhang Xiao has never studied and he craved knowledge. However, he was also really lazy and he wasn't able to study hard. He was able to enter the Bank of the Universe by luck and he spoke of his request. The last owner felt like it was interesting and thus he agreed. He thought that it was interesting. Li Xiandao didn't understand what the last owner was thinking. How was this interesting? What did a mortal have to exchange for a sage's cultural intellect? Maybe because he wanted to give a mortal a sage's intellect and then see how he used it, to brag and show off. Maybe he felt like that would be interesting. 7 said helplessly. Preposterous. Li Xiandao laughed coldly. Where is Zhang Xiao'er now? Li Xiandao asked. 7 used the Bank of the Universe's power and started to search. She was shocked. Zhang Xiao'er actually became the 10,000 Dragon Empire's head of scholars during these 10,000 years. Maybe people are calling him a saint and saying that he is the cultural ancestor of the generation. Li Xiandao laughed in disdain. He is just scum who has lived for a long time. He is just faking it and cheating the people. The key is many people believe him. Also, he changed his name. 7 didn't know whether to laugh or cry. What is he called? Li Xiandao asked curiously. Sage Zhang. 7 nearly burst out laughing, and she hugged the contract. That is quite direct. Li Xiandao burst into laughter. However, he suddenly thought about something else. Since Zhang Xiao'er is the head of scholars, then doesn't that mean he is really reputable and many people will listen to him? Li Xiandao asked. That should be it, otherwise, he wouldn't be the head. 7 nodded her head. Since that is the case, then we can make use of him. Li Xiandao opened the contract and saw the conditions for breaking the contract. Once the contract is broken, the soul will forever be enslaved, allowing the master to command him to do whatever he wants. Li Xiandao pointed at it and said, he has already broken the contract, so based on this, I can capture his soul and take his sage intellect back. Yes. 7 nodded. Li Xiandao gave a devilish smile. If he knows that someone from the Bank of the Universe is coming, will he be afraid? 7 was stunned. This person is helpful to Long Mixu's dream of becoming the Empress. If he knows his place, I will let him live. If not, then I shall follow this contract. Li Xiandao scoffed coldly. Chapter 116, Sage Zhang. Shengjing. Tian Guangming came to this place alone. He was here to complete Li Xiandao's mission. Why him? That was because the others were injured when Li Xiandao was trying to cross worlds, and thus Li Xiandao allowed them to rest for a period of time. As a boss, one had to be kind and empathetic to their subordinates. Only then would they love and serve their boss better. The only one who didn't do anything was Tian Guangming. Instead of helping, he found a primordial divinity which ended up messing himself up. Li Xiandao found it annoying leaving him by his side, so he told him to make the trip. Actually, Tian Guangming didn't really want to come out. He felt like he shouldn't have been heading out before he had totally merged with the primordial divinity of the goddess of light. Due to the primordial divinity, he didn't even know what things he would do. However, he couldn't go against Li Xiandao's orders and could only head to Shengjing with a bitter expression. Peng peng peng. Tian Guangming knocked on the door of Long Mixu's residence. Tian Guangming glanced at his own body first. In terms of how he was dressed, there wasn't anything wrong and it didn't make him look like a sissy. Only then did he feel more relaxed. Creak. The door was opened and an old butler walked out. She was quite old and thus couldn't see clearly. He looked at Tian Guangming and said, "This lady, why did you knock on our door?" Tian Guangming was shocked and pointed at himself, "Lady." "Yes." The old butler nodded. Tian Guangming placed his hands on his hips and started to reason with the old butler, "I am wearing a man's clothing and you call me a lady." The old butler pointed at his head and said, "If you aren't a lady, then why do you have a flower in your hair?" Tian Guangming touched his head and there really was a red flower there. "If you're not a lady, then why are you wearing makeup?" The old butler raged. Tian Guangming touched his cheeks and realized that there really was makeup on his face. He felt very dejected. "Although you are ugly and look like a guy, you can't give up on yourself. What matters as a girl is virtue. So what if you are beautiful, it doesn't matter." The old butler consoled Tian Guangming. He thought that Tian Guangming had given up on himself due to his looks and thus he wasn't willing to be a girl. Tian Guangming looked at him with both sadness and rage. He wanted to explain himself, but since it was all temporary, he decided not to struggle. "Old man, tell your princess that Tian Guangming is visiting." Tian Guangming said powerlessly. "Okay. Remember, as a girl, virtue is the most important thing." The old butler continued to remind him. Tian Guangming watched as he left and sighed. He then took out a mirror. "Damn, I really am ugly." Tian Guangming looked at himself in the mirror. He couldn't help but comment. He looked left and right and started to accept himself. "I am used to it, I am not too ugly. Instead, there is a whole new flavor to me now. Especially this red flower on my head, it looks really perfect. Tian Guangming evaluated himself. He placed his hands behind his back and felt satisfied. He didn't take off the red flower but he wiped the makeup off his face. You are being flirtatious. When Long Mingzu came out and saw Tian Guangming, her eyes nearly popped out. Tian Guangming scoffed, what do you know? Can't a guy be flirtatious? What is up with you? Did you fall under a spell? Long Mingzu frowned and sized him up. She reached out and flicked the red flower on his head. Stop touching it, this is just temporarily. After a period of time, after I merge with it completely, I will return to normal. Tian Guangming said confidently. He looked into the mirror once more and blinked. Long Mingzu hesitated, are you sure? I am sure, I am 100% sure. Now is not the time to talk about me, Master gave me a mission and told me to find you. Are you just going to make me stand outside your residence? Tian Guangming said unhappily. He pointed at Long Mingzu in a feminine manner. Then, please enter, Sister Tian Guangming. Long Mingzu suppressed her laughter and said. Tian Guangming rolled his eyes at her and entered. He didn't want to worry about her. Okay, I am wrong. I am sorry. Now, can you tell me why Master sent you? Long Mingzu consoled Tian Guangming and asked. If not for Master, I wouldn't even worry about you. Tian Guangming said proudly. Right, so because of Master, you should tell me what happened. You can't delay Master's grand plan. Long Mingzu poured tea for him and asked at the same time. Do you know someone called Sage Zhang? Tian Guangming picked up the glass and drank it in a feminine manner. Long Mingzu's brow rose up, no one who studies in the entire 10,000 Dragon Empire doesn't know who he is. It seems like you do know him. Master told you to find him and bring this. Tian Guangming took out a red watch and said. Sage Zhang is now in seclusion in 100 Sage College. He teaches occasionally and doesn't meet people from outside. Long Mingzu frowned. That is okay. You just need to send this red watch over and Sage Zhang wouldn't dare to not meet you. Tian Guangming said confidently. What? Long Mingzu was filled with doubt. What other reason could it be? Sage Zhang is the same as you, he was a guest of our Bank of the Universe. But after signing the contract, he broke it. Now, he is hiding and isn't willing to meet anyone. He had such a great idea, but sadly for him, we have arrived. Tian Guangming was pumped up. He thought of himself as a part of Bank of the Universe. If someone owed the Bank of the Universe, that meant that they owed him, so how would he not be angry about it? Long Mingzu was shocked. Sage Zhang is the head of scholars in the 10,000 Dragon Empire. You say that he entered the Bank of the Universe before. If he didn't, then with his ordinary talent, how could he become your head of scholars? Tian Guangming asked. This is too shocking. Long Mingzu's mind started to run. She had Sage Zhang's dirty secret and if she could use it, it would definitely help her a lot. What is Master planning? Long Mingzu asked carefully. Master said that you are a smart person and would know what to do, so he didn't give me any instructions. He just told you to take this watch and we will go and meet this leader. Tian Guangming said. Long Mingzu stood up right away and bowed to the sky. She said emotionally, thank you Master for your trust. I will be loyal to Master and that will never change. Tian Guangming looked on silently. He drank the tea and pursed his lips, this tea isn't nice. Long Mingzu was stunned, I don't drink tea, so I don't know what is nice or not nice. It is okay. From now on, I will stay here. When are you planning to meet that head of scholars? Tian Guangming asked. We don't have to rush. I need to ask help from someone before I can meet this head of scholars. Long Mingzu said softly, her eyes were filled with deep intentions. Who is it? Tian Guangming asked curiously. Stop being such a busybody, auntie. Long Mingzu was a little annoyed. Chapter 117, Sister, I need you. After Long Mingzu received information from Tian Guangming, she ditched him and left the residence alone. Why are you being so sneaky? Are you heading out to see your lover? Tian Guangming muttered. He reached out and played with the red flower on his head. The same building in Shengjing. Long Mingzu was very familiar with this route. She was here to visit her good friend, her best friend, and the person she trusted the most. Sister Min. Sister Min asked with a weird expression, why are you coming over so frequently? Long Mingzu smiled, isn't it because I miss you? Nice try, I won't believe such words. Sister Min reached out and interrupted her. You come here with a purpose every time, so what information would you like to find out this time? Sister Min saw through Long Mingzu. Although I come with a purpose each time, the purpose is to cover my desire to see you. Long Mingzu gave a sweet smile and pulled her arm. Ew, so mushy. Sister Min looked at her in disdain but allowed her to hold her arm. What do you want to ask this time? Sister Min asked. I am not asking for information. Long Mingzu shook her head. Apart from having information, I have nothing here for you. Sister Min knew her ability. Her only strength was that she spent decades to build an intel system in ancient desolate land to collect information. Along with her spending a lot of time in Shengjing, no one dared to behave arrogantly here and thus it was really safe. Apart from that, she had no other strengths. Long Mingzu shook her head, compared to your intel system, you are the biggest treasure. Sister Min looked at Long Mingzu and smiled. You are really amazing to have been able to build an intel network that covers most of ancient desolate land in just over a decade. You've been able to learn about the world without even stepping out. I really envy this ability. Long Mingzu said with a serious tone. Sister Min loved being praised but she still said, there is no use in praising me, I am just a normal person. Long Mingzu hugged her arm and said, if sister is a normal person, then there are no more normal people in the world. Why are you praising me like this? Sister Min grabbed her cheeks. I want sister to continue to be a good sister for me in the future. Long Mingzu boldly spoke of her goal out loud. I am your good sister now too. Her eyes lit up as she replied. Now, you are my good sister, but you are only a good sister. You know that I am really greedy and don't like to share with others. You should only be mine. Her eyes were really invasive as she stared at Sister Min. Brat, you have always been rational since you were young. Why are you spouting nonsense now? Sister Min was angry. Good sister, do you think I am spouting nonsense? Long Mingzu laughed. You are from the royal family and I am the daughter of a large family. We are either destined to be alone or will marry according to our family's wishes. Sister Min sighed. Sister, do you want that kind of life? Long Mingzu asked. So what if I don't want it? Can I go against it? Sister Min said solemnly. Yes. Long Mingzu smiled confidently and said firmly. Stop messing about. Sister Min stared at her angrily. I mean what I say. Long Mingzu stared firmly at her. Sister, you know that I am someone who can stay in the shadows and remain a rational person. Since I dare to say that, of course, I have the confidence. Sister Min was shocked. I just received some news. An intense battle occurred at Dragon Gate, over 20 Dao saints died. Even the Crown Prince was defeated. Were you a part of it? Long Mingzu nodded, we won this battle. Since the Crown Prince is back, he will definitely take revenge on you. Sister Min was worried. He doesn't dare. At the moment, the Crown Prince is unable to pose a threat anymore. I have taken a big step towards my goal. Long Mingzu smiled. Sister Min grabbed her palm and asked solemnly, you are controlling his soul. Definitely not. The royal family has methods to check for that and the moment they remove it, you will definitely die. Sister Min frowned. Sister, are you worried about me? Long Mingzu didn't explain and instead laughed happily. Who is worried about you? I am afraid that something will happen to you and you will end up dragging me down. Sister Min was a little annoyed. Don't worry sister, I didn't execute any soul control on him. He is such a coward and isn't a problem anymore. After meeting you, I will head to meet Sage Zhang. Long Mingzu explained. Sage Zhang. Sister Min looked at her in shock. Sage Zhang is the head of scholars and is said to be the worldly appearance of the Star of Knowledge. He has long been hidden in the 100 Sage College and doesn't meet anyone. Sister Min shook her head. Sage Zhang will definitely see me and he will definitely support me. Sister, since the Crown Prince isn't a threat and Sage Zhang supports me, will my chances of success increase by a lot? Long Mingzu said seriously. If that is the case, then you have a higher chance. However, you can't pass the ancients. They are a bunch of stubborn people and the youngest person is hundreds of years old. Each one of them is really strong and they form the foundation of the 10,000 Dragon Empire. Even if you work hard, without their recognition, you won't be able to gain the throne. Sister Min didn't mince her words and tore down Long Mingzu's ambition. Don't worry sister. Since I have started planning, I am not afraid of that. Just tell me, do you support me? Long Mingzu grabbed her arms and said seriously. How do you want to support me? Sister Min asked softly. In every way, I need both your body and your heart. Long Mingzu's eyes were filled with flames. She bit her lips and said, the people in the world will scold you. They will already scold me for wanting to become the empress and suppressing them, so why would I care about all that? Long Mingzu said in disdain. I just want to spend the rest of my life with my sister. After I get sick of the throne I will go into hiding and we will be a casual couple. Long Mingzu said. Give me some time to consider. You can head back first. Sister Min didn't agree and just told Long Mingzu to leave. Long Mingzu sighed, good sister, I will wait for you. Sister Min said, okay, go back. I will consider it carefully. This isn't something that I can decide on in the heat of the moment. Okay, I will wait for you, Long Mingzu said firmly. She bit down on her lips before fleeing immediately. Chapter 118, A Red Watch. 100 Sage College, the place where most of the scholars in ancient desolate land worked. Not only were there 100 sages here, but there was also one who was deemed as the sage of all sages. He had been through 10,000 years of worldly matters and many people admitted that he was the head of scholars. That person was Sage Zhang. When Sage Zhang was 10,000 years old, he announced his retirement. Then, he would only educate the scholars and wouldn't walk out of 100 Sage College. On that day, all the scholars in the world teared up. They all said that if the sage stopped caring for the world, culture and education wouldn't be able to bloom. Long Mingzu told all of this to Tian Guangming. From a young age, she had heard a lot of things about Sage Zhang. The smartest person. The most intellectual person. The most philosophical person. The most cultured person. All these labels were placed on Sage Zhang which immortalized him. Even Long Mingzu felt that Sage Zhang was unique in the past. Now, all these thoughts totally collapsed. Sage Zhang's name was the same as a thief and a cheater. He borrowed his knowledge and talent from the Bank of the Universe to act cool and lied to everyone in the world. Tian Guangming and Long Mingzu rushed out of the city and headed towards 100 Sage College which was a few hundred miles away. They wanted to meet this Sage Zhang. This is what they call judging a book by its cover. Moreover, how can you call that stealing? Tian Guangming said in disdain. Then, what do you call it? Long Mingzu asked. Borrowing. Tian Guangming said with a weird tone. There is no concept of stealing among cultured people. This Sage Zhang knows much about this borrowing thing. Tian Guangming exclaimed. Then, why don't you go and borrow? Long Mingzu asked. Do I look like a cultured person? Tian Guangming touched the red hair on his head and raised his brows. You look like a female brothel keeper. Long Mingzu dissed. Look at what you are saying. If I am a female brother keeper, then you are my most popular product. Tian Guangming laughed and gleefully retorted. Long Mingzu took in a deep breath and reminded herself. Don't lower yourself to her level. Don't lower yourself to her level. Don't lower yourself to her level. 100 Sage College. Tian Guangming and Long Mingzu arrived here and asked to meet him. I am sorry, Sage Zhang doesn't meet outsiders. The guard of the college rejected them right away. Long Mingzu wasn't surprised. She took out her own token and said, I am the princess of 10,000 Dragon Empire. Please send this invitation over to him. So what if you are the princess? Even if the emperor comes, Sage Zhang won't meet him. The guard said proudly. Tian Guangming had an explosive temper and he hollered in rage, that is because Sage Zhang has the ability and the right to do so. What gives you the right to behave like this? If you make the princess angry, wouldn't it be easy for her to deal with you? The guard was so frightened by Tian Guangming's aura that he took several steps back. He muttered, does the princess bring her aunt every time she heads out? Who are you calling her aunt? Tian Guangming was so furious he jumped up. Okay, calm down. You're not an aunt, you are not. Long Mingzu calmed him down and passed the invitation to the guard once more. Her tone became firmer, send it in for me and Sage Zhang will definitely meet me. Sage Zhang said that he will never meet an outsider. The guard didn't want to agree. Then, forget it, just show this thing to him. The moment he sees this, I am sure he will find us. Tian Guangming was really impatient and said as he took out his red watch. The guard wanted to reject. If you don't pass it to him, I will let you know how amazing I am. Tian Guangming shouted in a feminine manner. The guard was so terrified that he shuddered. He took the red watch and ran into 100 Sage College. Tian Guangming watched as he panicked and smiled in delight. I have no choice but to be fierce. Long Mingzu kept silent and felt sad for the guard. Within the college, there were many buildings and pavilions. Flowers and trees grew all around and there were many mountains of different sizes. It was extremely beautiful. High mountains and flowing streams. There were bamboo forests all around and large areas of farmland. Golden-colored wheat covered a large patch of land. 100 Sage College was created by Sage Zhang to spread knowledge. As long as one wanted to learn, one could learn all sorts of knowledge here. That included farming techniques. This was also the reason why 100 Sage College was so popular. Sage Zhang was indeed really good at educating people. Especially since Sage Zhang was still in seclusion here, it added a saintly glow to this place. The guard rushed in and arrived in Sage Zhang's courtyard in just a short while. Only then did he stop. How was he frightened by that ugly old witch? If he interrupted Sage Zhang's rest, then he would have committed a huge sin. If he made Sage Zhang unhappy, then he was going to lose his job. The moment he thought about this, he couldn't help but retreat. He really didn't want to enter. Coincidentally, Sage Zhang walked out. He was really old, his hair was grey and white and he was quite thin. He looked really merciful but no one dared to behave arrogantly in front of him. Sage Zhang, the guard looked at the old man and was a little stunned. He placed the red watch behind his back and gave an awkward but polite smile. When Sage Zhang saw the red watch, he was stunned. He then smiled, "Pass it to me. Did someone bring it to you?" Sage Zhang maintained his composure. Even after seeing the red watch, he didn't panic. "A princess handed it to me." The guard replied respectfully and passed the red watch to Sage Zhang. Sage Zhang touched the watch with his dry hands and was filled with emotion. "Let this princess enter, I want to meet her." The guard looked towards him in shock. Just like that? Sage Zhang had been hiding here for decades and was unwilling to meet outsiders. Why was he making an exception today? Sage Zhang didn't explain himself. He just took the red watch and walked back into his courtyard. The guard understood and ran back right away to invite Long Mingzu in. At the gate, the guard said respectfully, "Princess, Sage Zhang invites you in." Long Mingzu nodded and was not surprised at all. Tian Guangming wanted to follow. "Wait, Sage Zhang didn't invite you." The guard stopped Tian Guangming. "We are together." Tian Guangming explained. "I know that you are, but Sage Zhang said that he invited the princess, not you." The guard faked a smile. It was obvious that he didn't want to let him in. Do you not know how terrifying it is once a woman rages?" Tian Guangming was furious. "It's all right, just wait outside. I will go in and discuss the matter before coming out to find you." Long Mingzu stopped Tian Guangming and said. "Let's go together." Tian Guangming said firmly. "It is okay, I am confident. Just control yourself outside and behave." Long Mingzu calmed him down. "Okay." Tian Guangming replied reluctantly. Chapter 119, Saint Zhang's Past. Within 100 Sage College, Sage Zhang was resting in the rocking chair. He held the blood-red watch in his hand and he started to reminisce about the past. 000 years ago, he was just a teen called Zhang Xiaoer. His family was really poor and he helped to raise lambs and cows for others to feed himself and barely survive. Each time he saw his friends studying, he would be filled with envy. When he waited for them to come back from school and talk about what they had learned, he would be filled with admiration and desire. He really wanted to learn. One of his close female friends saw this and helped teach him when she was free. She taught him how to understand words and also how to study. Unfortunately, Xiaoer was not smart and it was extremely difficult for him to study. Things that a normal person could remember in a day would take 4 to 5 days for Xiaoer. But this couldn't stop him. Even though it was tough, he worked really hard. Even if he took 4 or 5 days, he could still learn. This lasted for 3 full years. After 3 years, he memorized a vast amount of knowledge. He decided to stop raising cows and he wanted to enroll in a school. He wanted to see how he would do with his few years of accumulated knowledge. Unfortunately, the girl moved away at this time as her parents married her off to a scholar. Xiaoer was devastated that night but he didn't find her. He just hid in a broken temple and cried. The rain drowned out the sound of his cries. No one knew how much Zhang Xiao'er liked that girl, just like no one knew how much Zhang Xiao'er liked studying. He honestly liked it from the bottom of his heart. The only thing was that he was actually quite dumb and useless. After it stopped raining, Zhang Xiao'er decided to enroll in a private school. He suppressed the sadness of losing his childhood love at the bottom of his heart. He spent a year there and his achievements were average. However, he was definitely unable to become a scholar. Sage Zhang remembered carefully that on that day, a loud drum shocked him. He personally saw that girl sitting on a carriage and being lifted away by other people. This time he didn't cry but he only felt a little sad. Okay, he was really sad. He sat beside a small river that was surrounded by flowers. Zhang Xiao'er was really filled with despair. In despair, a red watch flowed down the river with the current. He saw it and tossed a rock right at it, shattering it. The Bank of the Universe. This was the first time Zhang Xiao'er had heard of such a place and it was the only time he stepped foot into it. He exchanged his own life for the intellect of a sage. It took 3 days for him to be reborn. The childhood love he held close to his heart and her scholar husband were already living a blissful life. From then on, he changed his name to Sage Zhang. He left his original home and traveled the world. His days of traveling brought him to where he was today. He became the head of scholars, the god in the heart of all scholars. In the Bank of the Universe, Li Xiandao looked at Seven and asked, "Why is Sage Zhang so calm?" Seven found it weird too, maybe he saw through everything. Li Xiandao stared at Sage Zhang in the video and asked in shock, "The sage intellect we gave him has actually become so rich. If the intellect they gave him was 1 point, then 10,000 years from now, it would be 10 points. That was quite unbelievable. Sage Zhang had to be immersed in knowledge for the past 10,000 years. He studied really hard to improve himself to be able to achieve that. It seems like he is really decent, at least he kept to his promise." Seven had a much better impression of Sage Zhang. Long Mixu walked into the courtyard and saw the thin and small old man. "I know everything about you." Sage Zhang said calmly, "I guessed that the moment you sent this. How are you related to the Bank of the Universe?" "The owner is my master." Long Mixu said calmly. "I have gone against the contract, so you have come to take my life and soul?" Sage Zhang asked. He was really calm and wasn't afraid at all. He wasn't worried, he was like still water. "You aren't afraid?" Long Mixu was shocked. Sage Zhang cultivated, but what he cultivated was the righteous energy of Confucianism which allowed him to live on. This was the same as normal cultivation. When one reached a certain level, one's lifespan would increase. Sage Zhang lived for 10,000 years, so his righteous energy was definitely really amazing. If he tried, just one sentence would be able to suppress her. But he didn't plan to. "Why should I be? I am in the wrong and I should be punished," Sage Zhang said seriously. "You are really open-minded." Long Mixu laughed coldly. "Are you mocking me?" Sage Zhang asked. "You borrowed the sage's intellect in order to obtain your achievements. It is not yours but the intellect of others." Long Mixu asked. "I also need to add to their knowledge. The knowledge and intellect compared to now is totally different. If you want to kill me, then go ahead. If you are worried that people will find out, then I can commit suicide after you leave." Sage Zhang sighed and didn't want to explain anything. He educated people over these 10,000 years and built the 100 Sage College. He saved many poor kids and he did everything that the head of scholars would do. Sage Zhang was worthy of that title, which was why he didn't need to explain it to Long Mixu. "I didn't come to kill you." Long Mixu shook her head. "Then?" Sage Zhang frowned as he looked at Long Mixu. "I want you to support me to the throne." Long Mixu grinned and said firmly. In the Bank of the Universe, when Li Xiandao saw this, he waved his sleeves, and these scenes disappeared. The situation is clear now. With the head of scholars supporting Long Mixu and the crown prince supporting her in the dark, she just needs the support of the ancients. Li Xiandao was satisfied. That step is the most difficult one. Seven shook her head. "It is okay, let's just take it slow." Li Xiandao waved his hands and said calmly. Outside the fortress, Xia Wuxi returned to the Great Xia dynasty and found all the higher UPS to tell them about the loss of the Great Xia Dragon Finch. Scoff, that person must have broken through Saint Realm and reached an even higher level. However, our Great Xia dynasty won't be so easily beaten. The emperor said coldly. We must work together with the other powers. Primitive demon sect's 3 Dao saints have been killed. We must contact them and gather the 18 demon sections. Xiao Yuexu said solemnly. I will leave this matter to you. You lost the great Xia Dragonfinch and deserve to be beheaded. If you can't get it back, then you must kill yourself. Great Xia Dynasty's emperor said coldly. I will contact primitive demon sect now and gather up all the usable powers to kill him in one blow. Xiao Yuexu said firmly. If I can't kill them, then I will kill myself. Xiao Yuexu made an oath. Chapter 120, New Guest. Primitive demon sect was located on a snowy mountain. It didn't have many disciples, there were just a few thousand of them, but they were all geniuses. Primitive demon sect was the leader of the demon path, and the leaders of the demon path of each generation would come out from their sect. They were undoubtedly the top demon sect. Xiao Yuexu arrived in primitive demon sect along with Great Xia Dynasty's invitation. The sect leader welcomed him. The two of them strolled on the snowy mountain and talked about many things. I think you know my purpose in coming here, right? Xiao Yuexu said seriously. Primitive demon sect leader nodded his head, yes. The Dragon Gate battle caused such a huge commotion but ended up being badly defeated. Apart from you, only the Crown Prince escaped back to Shengjing. 3 of the Dao Saints who died belonged to my primitive demon sect. The sect leader's face was dark, sunken, and filled with rage. Any sect that lost 3 Dao Saints would definitely be furious. These weren't small saints but peak great saints. They were Dao Saints. A Dao Saint was able to take charge of a mid-tier sect and could even take charge of a large sect as long as they were careful not to cause problems. Primitive demon sect was really strong, but that didn't mean that they could accept the death of the 3 Dao Saints. What are you planning to do about this? Xiao Yuexu could tell how furious he was and his eyes lit up. What am I planning to do? He laughed coldly. How does the demon faction take revenge? Primitive demon sect asked. Naturally, they won't stop at anything to take revenge. Xiao Yuexu said excitedly. Don't be happy about it too early. Although we want to take revenge, we don't even know where they are. Primitive demon sect leader shook his head. Although I don't know where they are, one person definitely does. Xiao Yuexu said firmly. Who? Primitive demon sect leader asked. 10,000 Dragon Empire's princess, Long Mingzu. Xiao Yuexu said firmly, Long Mingzu is on the same side as him. The person who crossed worlds is their master. Primitive demon sect leader's eyes lit up and he understood what Xiao Yuexu was saying. You are saying that the princess of 10,000 Dragon Empire has recognized that person as her master? Yes. Xiao Yuexu was confident. He had learned of it with his very ears. Great, this is a great matter. 10,000 Dragon Empire has always been proud and always felt that they were the bloodline of the dragons. If those bunch of stubborn ancients learn that their descendant has recognized someone else as her master and brought him into ancient desolate land, even killing a prince, how angry would they be? Primitive demon sect leader laughed coldly. Xiao Yuexu became more and more emotional. If 10,000 Dragon Empire also joins in, then they will definitely die. There is no second possibility at all. Not only Great Xia Dynasty, but so will the 18 demon sects and the 10,000 Dragon Empire. What about the celestial sects? Primitive demon sect leader said speculatively. What are you saying? A bright glow appeared in his eyes like he had thought about something but was still a little unsure about it. 10,000 ancient celestial sect has lost much more than us. They lost 7 Dao Saint elders, so do you think they would like to take revenge? Primitive demon sect leader said softly. You also said that they lost 7 Dao Saints, so they aren't that strong anymore. Xiao Yuexu treated 10,000 ancient celestial sect with much disdain. They are one of the top 10 celestial path factions, and out of the 10, they regard dignity as more important than we do. Head to 10,000 ancient celestial sect to convince them and tell them to put down their pride and beg the other 9 factions. The primitive demon sect leader instructed him. Xiao Yuexu didn't mind being a lackey. The more people participating in this, the happier he became. Then, who will inform those at Shengjing? Xiao Yuexu asked. I will go personally. You said that the person who crossed worlds should be stronger than Saint Realm. Thus, only the Supreme Elder of 10,000 Dragon Empire, Primitive Demon Sect, and Celestial Path can stop him. He said. Those 3 all broke through Saint Realm and stepped into the next realm. Xiao Yuexu nodded his head and became really emotional. He was finally seeing hope of being able to get Great Xia Dragonfinch back. Head out. You will act on the surface and I will be in the shadows. Anyone who dares to kill men from primitive demon sect will be sent to hell. Primitive demon sect's sect leader said coldly. Xiao Yuxu looked at him and his heart felt cold. As expected from a leader of the demon sect. In just a few sentences he made arrangements for many experts to deal with that expert who had crossed worlds. What a scheming person! But Xiao Yuxu felt emotional and happy about it. Master's great Xia Dragonfinch is finally coming back. Xiao Yuxu's emotions filled his heart. Great Xia Dragonfinch was the great Xia Dragonfinch, how could its name be randomly changed and even into such a dumb name like Full Moon? Preposterous! Xiao Yuxu clenched his fists and said firmly, I am heading to 10,000 ancient celestial sect and I will definitely convince them. If you are unable to, then use the excuse of evil invading ancient desolate land to force them to help. Primitive demon sect's sect leader gave him some advice. Xiao Yuxu remembered his words and was really impressed. As expected from the sect leader who considered all areas. This time I am going to bring chaos to him, to let this person know that ancient desolate land isn't somewhere he can behave arrogantly. Primitive demon sect's sect leader waved his sleeves and he said with a cold expression. In the Bank of the Universe, Xiandao didn't know about this matter at all. He was discussing with Seven. Should we toss some watches into ancient desolate land? Xiandao asked. The 100 watches from before were all placed into the heaven and earth battlefield and he had none here. Since he came to a new world, he should have opened up a new market. This was something that Xiandao was considering. We don't have any watches. The 100 we had were all tossed into the heaven and earth battlefield. Seven waved her hands. Take 50 back and place them in Indiana ancient desolate land. I want to open up a new market to strengthen the Bank of the Universe. Xiandao waved his sleeves and said firmly. Anyway, they didn't find any new guests in the heaven and earth battlefield, which meant that there were too few suitable traits or that people got the watches but didn't shatter them. Why not place them in ancient desolate land? Okay, I respect your decision. Seven agreed. She took back 50 and placed them in ancient desolate land. The moment the watches were placed into ancient desolate land, Xiandao heard her reminder. Master, a new guest is here. What? So fast? Xiandao was shocked. They had just tossed the watches down a minute ago? Seven smiled. The person isn't from ancient desolate land but from the heaven and earth battlefield. He is here to trade. Do I know him? Xiandao asked. Master doesn't, he is a new guest. Seven smiled mysteriously and said, maybe you will be surprised. Chapter 121, Qin Yu. In the heaven and earth battlefield, in one of the ruins left after a battle, a teen with an amputated limb looked at the moon while breathing her final breaths. I am about to die. The teen breathed in weakly and her face was ashen white. She had several sword wounds at her stomach area and her entire right arm had been sliced off. She was laying in a thick blood pond. What should I do? The teen didn't want to die. No one who came to the heaven and earth battlefield wanted to die. The girl had gone through so many hardships to enter this place. She tried her best to cultivate and improve herself and in just a few years she reached Dao Saint Realm. She was able to rely on her hard work to change everything. I am the daughter of the Crescent Moon, I shouldn't die like this. She was filled with regret, she shouldn't have joined this battle for a friend. The truth proved that her friend had betrayed her. To date, she remembered the words of guilt her friend said when he betrayed her as well as those shifty eyes. Qin Yu, I am sorry my family members were captured by them. I have no choice. Please don't blame me. The crying voice begged for her forgiveness. She was so pitiful that it felt like he was the victim while the ice-cold Qin Yu was the person who caused all of this. Your cries, your guilt, your sorrow are just in exchange for my forgiveness to let you live at ease for the latter part of your life. Qin Yu mocked herself. To save you, I revealed my identity in the family. Unfortunately, I was wrong about you. Your family isn't the only thing in the world, there are other people trying their best for you. Qin Yu sighed. The crescent blade shone brightly and she killed her best friend just 3 minutes ago. Qin Yu hated betrayal. Pa. Truly fierce and vicious, as expected from the Qin family's martyr in this generation. A man covered in armor clapped. Qin Yu said coldly, I am Qin Yu, I am not a martyr. Each generation will have a martyr to enter the moon and accompany that person. Since you've been chosen, then this is your fate. The smile on the guy's face disappeared and he said coldly. Do I have to announce that my fate is up to me and not the heavens? Qin Yu mocked. You are really unwilling to return with us? The armored man asked. Even if I die today, there is only Qin Yu and no so-called martyr. Qin Yu pulled out her silver crescent blade. Under the light of the moon, its cold glow was there for everyone to see. Each generation has a martyr, it is now your turn and this is what you should do. The armored man hollered in rage. Only a weak guy will rely on a woman to extend his lifespan. Someone who sends daughters of his family to the arms of someone he is afraid of, allowing them to do impure things to them. Do you even have the right to shout at me here? Qin Yu said coldly. No matter what you say, we will still capture you today. You do know how amazing the Moon Palace Qin family's protector squad is. The armored man said in rage. Bring it on. I am the daughter of the Crescent Moon and I don't mind fighting you. That was the only thing Qin Yu said. She fought to the death and managed to kill 3 of the members. Her arm had been sliced off and her body was slashed several times. Tisk, you bitch. That person is so noble and it is your honor to serve him. You are crazy to actually retaliate. The armored man looked at the few wounds on his body and scolded in rage. Sir, do we bring her back? Why? She has 1 lost arm, and even if she recovers, she will be handicapped. Can you find some medicine from God to help her reattach her arm? Just leave her here and let her rot and experience how terrifying it feels for death to descend. Let's go. When we go back we need to choose a new martyr. Damn it. His voice became deeper and deeper before disappearing. It was at this point when Qin Yu's consciousness started to fade. I swear that even if I die, I won't be a martyr. Qin Yu looked at the white moon and muttered to herself. Suddenly, the moon turned blood red. She was shocked and came to her senses once more. She realized that there was a red watch floating in front of him. There was a voice in her heart that told her to grab it. Hong! Qin Yu and the watch disappeared from the blood pool. In the Bank of the Universe, Li Xiandao was dressed neatly and welcomed the new guest. Since Long Mingzhu entered, there were no new guests. Thus, Li Xiandao paid a lot of attention to this one. 7 also said that there would be a surprise that filled Li Xiandao with anticipation. As expected, it was correct to transfer that ability to you. Now that I don't know their information, I am filled with anticipation. Li Xiandao said to 7. 7 smiled. I hope that you will be satisfied. Dong. A girl, who had 1 arm missing and multiple wounds on her abdomen, walked into the trading hall. In her hand was a red watch. Silence. Li Xiandao was stunned. He turned his head and stared at 7. This is what you call a surprise. 7 reminded Li Xiandao, save her, otherwise, she is going to die. Li Xiandao looked at the streaks of blood that were solidifying and also at the white clothing he wore especially for today. This was really a damn surprise. A big surprise. 7 continued, quick, this person is a girl who came from the moon, she is the daughter of the Crescent Moon. Li Xiandao's eyes lit up. A girl who came from the moon? The daughter of the Crescent Moon? Li Xiandao thought back to his last remaining primordial divinity and he was filled with emotions. He ran over, not worrying about the blood at all. He carried her up and said anxiously, bring me the contract. What do I write on it? 7 asked. They hadn't come to an agreement with her yet. Write that I will save her life and she has to work for me for the rest of her life. If she goes against the contract, she will die. Li Xiandao dashed. 7 prepared the contract quickly and passed it to Li Xiandao. Come, little moon, give me your palm imprint. Li Xiandao placed the contract under her palm. When Qin Yu, who was fading in and out of consciousness, heard this sentence, she pressed down. Li Xiandao said decisively, take Moon Angel Yuzuna's primordial divinity. Have you checked whether or not they are compatible? 7 asked. I believe you. Li Xiandao only said this. 7 squinted and then moved quickly to take Moon Angel Yuzuna's primordial divinity. Don't blame me if I am wrong. 7 muttered. Li Xiandao was too lazy to worry about her behaving weirdly again. He had to save her. Like he had done many times before, he controlled her heart to merge with it. Li Xiandao was really efficient and in just a minute he completed these steps. Next would be the slow merging process. Chapter 122, Moon Angel Greets Master. In the endless darkness, Qin Yu was filled with fear and panic. From the moment she could remember things, she had been a martyr. This was her destiny, she didn't even have a chance to choose her path and was made to be a martyr. She was just sacrificing herself to fulfill the wishes of others. While growing up, Qin Yu was really lost and she didn't know what to do. Should she have followed fate, to use her body to feed the devil, or should she have rebelled? While she hesitated and struggled, her parents died from an accident. Qin Yu, who had nothing left, chose to betray everyone. When the crescent moon appeared, she fled the moon and entered heaven and earth battlefield. She grew from the many battles and killings and thought that this was her future. But a friend she made shattered all her plans. Am I dead? Qin Yu asked herself in the darkness. You are the daughter of the crescent moon, so why do you need to die? A masculine protective female voice rang in her ears. Who are you? Qin Yu asked curiously. I am the moon angel, the representative of the crescent moon. The female voice said. Qin Yu hesitated. Let's merge. You can become me while I can also show off the might and glory of the moon angel through you. We will become one and serve Master well. The voice reverberated through the dark space. Master. Qin Yu was confused. Let's merge. Moon angel didn't explain much and got close. Hong. The dark space shrunk like it was all about to merge into her body. Dong. She coughed, her body was uncontrolled and her consciousness became a blur. At the last moment, she saw the moon, a crescent moon was rising up. In front of the crescent moon, a beautiful and smooth-haired woman appeared and she was looking at her. Crescent moon. Qin Yu muttered before falling unconscious. In the bank of the universe, Xiandao and Seven looked at Qin Yu without moving at all. Why hasn't she woken up? Seven poked Xiandao with her fingers. Maybe because her cultivation is quite high. Along with the perfect merger of her and Yuzuna, this should be the most thorough merger of all the angels. Xiandao nodded. Out of the 5 angels merged, the most ideal one should have been Tian Guangming. But what he got was a female primordial divinity. They also removed the common memory such that till now he still wasn't used to it. The primordial divinity that should have been a perfect match was now just half successful. The second should have been Lucifer due to the light and darkness body. Unfortunately, his cultivation was too low and even if they were a perfect match, he had to start from scratch. As for Archangel Gabriel and Battle Angel Michael, they both weren't perfect matches. Both of them had to put in a lot of hard work to reach full control. But Moon Angel Yuzuna was different. Both of them were of similar elements and Qin Yu had high cultivation herself. It was really close to perfection and was at least much better than the other 4 angels. This was why Xiandao was looking forward to what she looked like after the merging process. Hong. Suddenly, Qin Yu, who had been really quiet, now had an enormous energy wave exploding from her body. The silver moonlight spread like water and was really terrifying. Xiandao reached out and said calmly, still. The silver moonlight stopped in front of him and slowly spread to other areas. Explosion. The terrifying power from her body was really like a tsunami that crashed towards the trading hall. Luckily, it was really stable and even as the shockwaves hit, it didn't budge at all. Seven was shocked, she has broken past Saint Realm. Xiandao was satisfied. Of course. She is already a Dao Saint, so after merging with Yuzuna's primordial divinity, it doesn't make sense for her to not break through. Congratulations Master, you have one more general under you. Seven smiled. Xiandao was satisfied. It seems like I can move forward with many plans. The energy from within her body didn't continue for a long time. It calmed down really quickly and her severed arm was slowly growing back. Her wounded stomach started to heal and the layer of mortal aura on her body was disappearing. She was becoming a celestial. Her skin was like jade, and her eyes were bright like the moon. She opened her eyes and stood up, her body giving off a cold and hard to get close to aura. Qin Yu looked at Xiandao and Seven. After merging with the memory, she knew everything that happened. Master. Qin Yu lowered her head and said. What should I call you now? Xiandao asked. Qin Yu. Or, Yuzuna? Xiandao asked calmly. Qin Yu looked around, her red lips opened up and said, Martyr Qin Yu has died in the heaven and earth battlefield, there is only Moon Angel Yuzuna now. At that moment, she chose the name Yuzuna and gave up on Qin Yu. Good. Xiandao clapped and looked at Yuzuna with satisfaction. Where did you come from? Xiandao asked. Cold Moon Sky, Moon Palace Qin family, Yuzuna said coldly. The moment she talked about this family, she was filled with hatred and grievances. Cold Moon Sky. Li Xiandao thought about it and managed to recall. Out of the 9 skies, the bottom was Hell Sky. Above it was Cold Moon Sky. The Book of War brought the many Flame Kings to Hell Sky. Now, Moon Angel came from Cold Moon Sky. Li Xiandao, who was still in the 10 lands, had unknowingly started to have a deep connection with these 2 skies. From now onward, you shall adapt to your new power. You will have some chance to show off soon. Li Xiandao said. Yuzuna nodded her head. She just left without saying anything else. 7. Help me contact Book of War. After Yuzuna left, Li Xiandao instructed her. 7 was stunned. Book of War is training the 10,000 mini Flame Kings in Hell Sky. Why are you looking for him? Li Xiandao's face turned cold. I don't want to delay this anymore. Long Mingzhu has to become the Empress quickly and unify ancient desolate land. Only then can we expand to other areas. With Moon Angel Yuzuna, Li Xiandao didn't want to develop slowly. He wanted to shift his Burning Legion back to unify ancient desolate land. 7 contacted Book of War right away. What is the matter? I am training them now. Book of War said. How is their strength now? Li Xiandao asked. Master, they are definitely really strong. Since I came here, I have been going all out in training them. The fire element here is so rich. The Burning Legion now might even exceed your expectations, so don't worry. Book of War said gleefully. How are they in terms of war formations? Li Xiandao asked. There are no problems, they meet my requirements perfectly. All 10,000 of them have the same heart, they are invincible. Book of War said emotionally. Since that is the case, then bring them back. Li Xiandao said decisively. Chapter 123, Dragon Hiding Mountain. Shengjing. After Long Mingzhu gained Sage Zhang's agreement, she went back to feeling extremely satisfied. When she was preparing to recruit more supporters, a sudden message summoned her into the palace. How dare you summon into the palace? Long Mingzhu asked. At the same time, she decided to give him some valuable treasures. Princess, I don't know, but it definitely has to be because the emperor is unhappy. The messenger eunuch said softly as he accepted the gift. Then, can you let me dress up and wash up? I am covered in dust and dirt and can't meet my father like this. Long Mingzhu rolled her eyes and said. Please do so quickly. The eunuch nodded his head. Long Mingzhu swiftly entered the room and found Tian Guangming, who was in secluded meditation. What is up? Tian Guangming was interrupted and he gave an innocent expression. My father summoned me to court. Long Mingzhu said. You are his daughter, so it is normal for you to enter. Tian Guangming didn't care much. It is not normal as many people have gathered outside. I sense that this is not a simple summon, they are afraid that I might flee and have actually sent so many people to get me to head into the palace. Long Mingzhu said solemnly. Tian Guangming sensed many people breathing weakly around the residence. These people were all hiding. What now? Tian Guangming's expression turned solemn and he asked. When I enter they will probably capture you. Maybe our plan has been revealed. Go find master and report this to him. Long Mingzhu said solemnly. Will you be in danger? Tian Guangming was worried. He knew that Long Mingzhu had a deal with the Bank of the Universe and she had to become the Empress. If she died before that, then it would be considered that the Bank of the Universe had gone against the agreement. I will protect myself well, at most, I will be imprisoned, but I will not die. I hope that the Crown Prince didn't expose me. Long Mingzhu gritted her teeth. If the Crown Prince did, then she would really be in danger. After all, the Crown Prince did know that she wanted to become the Empress. That was disrespectful to her father and killing her would be considered a light punishment. Don't worry, I will report to Master right away and he will save your life. Tian Guangming said solemnly. He knew that this was an urgent matter and he couldn't waste any time. Okay, then I will leave now. Long Mingzhu had one more layer of insurance and left the room for the palace along with the eunuch. Long Mingzhu had no idea what was happening. She told herself to calm down and maybe they were asking her for some information. As for Tian Guangming, after she left, he contacted Li Xiandao right away. Master, not good, something has happened. Tian Guangming contacted Li Xiandao anxiously. In the Bank of the Universe, Li Xiandao had just finished conversing with the Book of War when he received Tian Guangming's voice. Li Xiandao frowned and didn't know what had happened. Enter. With a wave of his sleeve, Li Xiandao used the power of the bank to grab Tian Guangming. What happened? Why are you so anxious? Li Xiandao frowned. Master, Long Mixu has been summoned into the palace by her father. Many people have come and they are really unfriendly. Tian Guangming panicked. Li Xiandao frowned. What is going on? Has 10,000 Dragon Empire realized our plan? Li Xiandao didn't understand. There is nothing wrong with being careful, we can take a look at Long Mixu's situation first. 7 reminded Li Xiandao. Okay, Long Mixu is my subordinate and she has signed the contract, so we can try. Li Xiandao waved his sleeves and Long Mixu's situation appeared in front of him. This was the master's control of his subordinate. As long as they signed the contract and became his subordinate, he could do this anytime he wanted. If they weren't his subordinate, then he couldn't monitor them. Currently, Li Xiandao was unable to monitor the 9 skies from his place in the 10 lands. This was why he was unable to see the burning legion in Hell Sky. In the image, Long Mixu was sitting in a carriage and was being carried into the palace. Weird, why are so many people monitoring her? 7 found it weird. There was a senior eunuch and dozens of junior ones. There were 100 imperial guards blocking Long Mixu in. This was weird. Li Xiandao looked on calmly and didn't say a single word. This isn't the route towards the palace. I have spent several days here and this path is out of the city. Tian Guangming found out that something was off and said solemnly. Li Xiandao frowned. Why were they bringing Long Mixu out of the city? In the carriage, Long Mixu also sensed that something was off. She opened the blinds and looked around. She was shocked. She had lived in Shengjing since she was young and knew every road here like the back of her hand. Eunuch, this isn't the path to the palace, we are heading out of the city. Long Mixu said solemnly. The carriage continued without stopping at all. The guards carrying the carriage acted like they didn't hear anything at all. The senior eunuch said softly, Princess, please wait for a while. You will know when we reach there. It isn't His Majesty who has summoned you. If it is not my father, then you are faking an edict. Long Mixu was furious. She panicked a little as things were out of her expectation. I don't dare to fake an edict. Although you are not meeting His Majesty, the person you are meeting does have the right to order me around. The senior eunuch panicked. When Long Mixu heard this, she was shocked. A bolt of lightning flashed in her head and she understood everything. In the entire 10,000 Dragon Empire, only that place had more power than her father. Royal Family Ancients. The foundations of the 10,000 Dragon Empire. As long as they existed, the 10,000 Dragon Empire wouldn't be wiped out. The information that the senior eunuch revealed was obvious. Long Mixu's heart sank and she was contemplating what to do. The people carrying the carriage walked very quickly. They dashed out of the city gate and walked towards a giant mountain. Dragon Hiding Mountain. This was the place that the old ancestors of the 10,000 Dragon Empire lived in. Long Mixu had only heard of it in the past and had never actually been here. And now, she was being carried here. 100 people surrounded her like they were afraid that she would run. This was a bad sign. Princess, we have arrived. You can enter the village alone. The senior eunuch said solemnly. Dong. The carriage landed on the ground with a thud. Long Mixu's heart sank. She still opened the curtains calmly and looked around. This was a normal-looking village, it wasn't exceptionally prosperous. It just looked really humble. But to be able to build a village here, one knew that the person inside couldn't be offended. Long Mixu didn't say a word, she bowed towards the senior eunuch and walked in. Since she was here, there was no point in worrying. It was best if she asked the question right away. Anyway, there was nowhere for her to run. Long Mixu stepped foot into the village and heard the crown prince's voice. Long Mixu, you are just too bold, actually killing your own brother and planning to steal the throne. Your sin cannot be pardoned. Long Mixu frowned. The crown prince had been so timid in the past, so how would he have dared to behave so arrogantly now? Chapter 124, People like you can kill my subordinate? The crown prince's questions caused Long Mixu to frown. She didn't reply and just looked into the village. In the village, there were more than 10 elders sitting all around. Their expressions were all different. Some were uncaring, some looked on coldly, some were furious, some laughed coldly. When Long Mixu saw them, she was shocked. The peak martial emperor of the 10,000 Dragon Empire 300 years ago. Peak Dao Saint who defeated everyone in the world. Long Mixu recognized one of the angry-looking old men and her heart sank. The emperor who swept the land 1,000 years ago. Long Mixu recognized another person. It was the emperor who saved the 10,000 Dragon Empire 1,000 years ago. The other people were all extremely famous people in the 10,000 Dragon Empire. Every one of them was a peak Dao saint, who after seeing past mortal matters, decided to come here to live in seclusion and attempt to break past saint realm. They wanted to enter the next world and even fly up to the 9 skies. Based on seniority, they were all her ancestors. No wonder the crown prince could lift himself up and openly scold her. He had so many people behind his back supporting her. Long Mixu, what do you have to say? You killed your own blood brother, the Prince Long Beishuan, and colluded with people from the outside world to build a world-grade teleportation formation. You allowed the person to enter ancient desolate land, and this is a huge evil that can't be pardoned. The crown prince continued to chide Long Mixu to vent the grievances that were pent up in his heart. Long Mixu bit down on her lip and looked at the various old ancestors. I have nothing to say. No matter what she said here, she was in the wrong. The crown prince was delighted. Ancestors, Long Mixu has admitted that she killed Long Beishuan. She also willingly recognized someone as her master and was willing to become a slave. She has lost all the dignity of our royal family. Okay, you are the crown prince, how can you be good enough for the role if you are so unconfident? The invincible Dao saint from 300 years ago opened his mouth and scolded the crown prince. He immediately replied respectfully, "Thank you, ancestor, for scolding me. I am like that because I am too happy. With all of you here, and with all your intelligence, you are able to deduce who is the hopeless bunch in the younger generation. It is truly the blessing of the empire and the people." Long Mixu looked at him in disdain. He only knew how to suck up to others. In terms of those kinds of skills, he was number 1. The invincible Dao saint stood up. He was the youngest here, so naturally, he would be in charge of this. Long Mixu, you are my descendant, and if you made a little mistake I can forgive you. As long as you are able to say where you went wrong, then I will let you live. The Dao saint said coldly. Long Mixu laughed, "Let me live? Imprison me at home such that I can't head out for the rest of my life. I will then die slowly, isn't that the same thing? You made a mistake, so naturally, you have to bear the consequences." The invincible Dao saint said coldly. "If you say that I am wrong, then I am wrong." Long Mixu didn't bother to argue. The matter was obvious now. "But I can tell you something." Long Mixu smiled. "What?" The Dao saint squinted and looked at Long Mixu. "I am willing to continue being wrong. Since I have chosen this path, then I won't turn back." Long Mixu said firmly. "Preposterous." The invincible Dao saint was furious and raised his hand, wanting to kill Long Mixu. "Old ancestor, how can you be the one to do it? You are so noble. Since Long Mixu has decided to fall, we can't let her dirty your hands. You should give me her life. I don't mind being guilty of killing someone of the same generation." The crown prince fawned to the side. He just wanted to personally kill Long Mixu to take revenge for being humiliated by her. The Dao saint thought about it and scoffed coldly, "Since that is the case, then you kill her." The crown prince said emotionally, "Great, I will definitely not show mercy." The crown prince looked at her viciously like he wanted to swallow her up. He remembered clearly the humiliation he felt at Dragon Gate. This time he would definitely make her pay with blood. Long Mixu looked on calmly. Facing death, she took in a deep breath and wasn't afraid. She mocked, "Since I have already done those things, I have accepted that this day might one day come. But I believe that my master will take revenge for me." "Your master, the person who crossed worlds? We will definitely kill him." The invincible Dao saint said coldly. "That's right, not only our 10,000 Dragon Empire, but the entire ancient desolate land will attack him. Even if he has skills, he won't be able to use it," said the emperor from 1,000 years ago. His expression was cold and he looked at Long Mixu with an unhappy expression. "Did you hear that? Your master is useless and won't be able to save you." The crown prince was delighted. Clang! He took out his sword and held it up. He pointed the firm and sharp sword at Long Mixu. "I will give you one last chance to say where the world crosser is. Only then I will let you live." The invincible Dao saint couldn't help but say. Long Mixu closed her eyes and said calmly, "Come. You can kill me, but I will never betray my master. You are the daughter of the emperor. What did that world crosser give you to make you die for him? The Dao Saint raged. Respect. Long Mingzu said firmly. Master respected my dreams. Long Mingzu repeated. Your dream is to become the empress and suppress all of us. The crown prince said in disdain. That is just a stupid dream. Since ancient times, it has been considered normal for women to have no talents. Your only hope is cultivation, but you are naturally weak. It is right for you to raise and teach a kid. To be the empress is just a joke of a dream. The invincible Dao Saint scolded her for her dream. This is the difference between you and my master. He supports my dream. Although I need to be loyal, I am willing. Long Mingzu said firmly. Kill this crazy woman. We will find the world crosser ourselves. The invincible Dao Saint was furious. He scoffed coldly and ordered the crown prince to kill her. In the next life, don't have such amusing and preposterous dreams. The crown prince lifted his blade and sliced down. Long Mingzu sighed. Has it all gone to waste? The blade light slashed down and sliced her skin. She felt death descend on her. In the bank of the universe, Tian Guangming said emotionally, Master, what should you do? Seven looked on solemnly. If Mingzu died, then they would have gone against the contract as they didn't allow her to become the empress. Li Xiandao said coldly, she is my subordinate. How are they even good enough to kill my subordinate? Clang! Thousands of miles away, through a mirror, Li Xiandao used his fingers like a sword. He gathered a streak of sword energy and slashed forwards. Hong! That sword energy disappeared from the image in front of him. Along with terrifying power and Li Xiandao's rage, it appeared in the small village at Dragon Hiding Mountain. Hong! Li Xiandao's sword energy terrified the dozens of old men around. All of them stood up in shock and stared at the sword energy. Chapter 125, I will wait for you all at Dragon Gate. In the small village on top of Dragon Hiding Mountain, the few of them were all shocked. A streak of sword energy appeared in the air. It landed from the sky with a terrifying aura and was pointed right at the crown prince. It was obvious that the sword energy was to save Long Mingzu. Preposterous! Is this place somewhere you can behave so arrogantly? The invincible Dao Saint from 300 years ago stood up straight and punched 10 fists at it, causing the air around to explode. Hong hong hong! The 10 fists savagely smashed into the sword energy. But the sword energy didn't back down, the fists were violent but it just continued to slice apart it. Peng peng peng! This sword energy sliced apart the 10 fists as fast as one sliced vegetables. It even split out another streak of sword energy, turning into an illusion to attack. Scram! Li Xiandao's voice rang out and reverberated in the air above. An unbelievable scary explosion of energy burst forth. The invincible Dao Saint's body flew backward and smashed dozens of houses in the village. Dust and smoke bellowed. The momentum of Li Xiandao's sword energy didn't reduce at all and continued to head towards the crown prince. The crown prince was scared silly. He was covered by the sword energy, and at this point, he recalled how terrifying Li Xiandao was. He recalled the terrifying blow at the black soil area and thought back to how mysterious the bank of the universe was. Putong! His legs went soft. He didn't even kill Long Mingzu even though he had the chance to slice off her neck right now. But he had no courage at all. He could only kneel on the ground and beg for forgiveness. Slice! The sword energy was really berserk and swept forwards, instantly killing the crown prince. Li Xiandao didn't even give him a chance to argue for himself. He had given him a chance in the black soil land but he gave up on it. No matter what he said now, he would still have to die, so there was no point at all listening to his nonsense. The crown prince's body was pierced by the sword energy. His body shook and he was held up in the air. The sword energy turned into thousands of pieces of sword threads which sliced his limbs off. When the dozens of elders in the village saw this, their eyes seemed as if they were about to pop out from their sockets in rage. They were filled with hatred and anger. This sword energy flew over from so far away, forcing away a Dao Saint and then killing the crown prince. That was an outright insult to all of them. A slap to 10,000 Dragon Empire's face. A slap to their faces. At that moment, all of them stared at Long Mingzu in rage. This was because they couldn't find Li Xiandao's voice and the sword energy had disappeared. Are you all even worthy enough to kill my subordinate? Li Xiandao's overbearing voice rang once more. It was like thunder rumbling in the sky above the village. Master! Long Mingzu looked up emotionally. At that moment, she sensed a feeling of belonging and safety that she had never felt before. My 10,000 Dragon Empire royal family is teaching our descendant a lesson, so why are you interfering? The emperor from 1,000 years ago raged. In the bank of the universe, Li Xiandao's face was cold. He spoke to them from such a long distance away, she is mine, all of you don't have the right to teach her a lesson. Aren't you a little too arrogant? The emperor raged. When you let the trash crown prince kill her, that was already arrogant. Since that is the case, then I will behave even more arrogantly. Li Xiandao didn't mince his words at all. You are thousands, tens of thousands of miles away, and can save her once, but can you save her a second time? A tall but thin, bamboo pole-like old man walked out. Old ancestor. The emperor from 1,000 years ago said respectfully. The other people looked on with respect. This person was the village head, the true protector god of the 10,000 Dragon Empire. Long Yu. Long Mingzu said right away, Master, this person is 10,000 Dragon Empire's protector Long Yu. I heard that he broke through and entered the level above Saint Realm. Long Mingzu betrayed her old ancestor without any hesitation. Trash, you really are a disgrace to the Long family. Long Yu looked at Long Mingzu coldly. He threw a slap, wanting to smack Long Mingzu to death. A slap from someone who was above the Saint Realm. Long Mingzu definitely wouldn't be able to take that, and that slap would kill her. I told you that you aren't worthy to kill my subordinate in front of me. Do you think I am joking? Li Xiandao's voice rang out. From who knows how many thousands of miles away, he used his fingers as a sword and slashed. Hong! This strike was a huge surge of energy, turning into a river that swept forwards. Do you really think no one from ancient desolate land can teach you a lesson? Long Yu hollered in rage. He reached out towards the sky with one hand like he wanted to pull down half of the heavens to fight alongside him. Pang! This strike smashed right into Li Xiandao's big river sword, causing the sword energy to splatter. Both the sword energy and the strike scattered. Explosion! The entire village was non-existent. Like after a tsunami, a city would be left in ruins. There weren't any unscathed buildings left at all. Today, you won't be able to bring Long Mingzu away alive. Long Yu looked at how he blocked Li Xiandao's strike and felt confident. Do you really think that you are at an advantage just because I am fighting you from far away? Li Xiandao mocked. Since that is the case, then take another sword. Li Xiandao didn't hesitate and sliced once more. At the same time, the ability of the Bank of the Universe was activated. It covered Long Mingzu and wanted to bring her away. How bold! Long Yu found out what was happening and wanted to stop it. But Li Xiandao's sword energy was really ferocious and he had to go all out to block it. Explosion! When the sword energy was blocked, Long Mingzu was successfully taken away by Li Xiandao. Only ruins were and an exasperated Long Yu were left behind. You coward, what is the skill in hiding? If you have the balls, then announce your location. Long Yu shouted. In the Bank of the Universe, Li Xiandao wanted to end this conversation, but when he heard this, he laughed coldly. Since you want to die, then I will let it happen. I will wait for all of you outside Dragon Gate. If you have the ability, then come and try. Hong! After saying this, Li Xiandao switched off the image in front of him. He stood with his arms behind his back and just stood there quietly. Long Mingzu felt guilty. Master, I was wrong to trust the Crown Prince and I messed everything up. She felt really guilty, especially after seeing Li Xiandao fight the old ancestor for her, she felt even more guilty. Li Xiandao waved his hands and said, even if you didn't mess it up now, I was prepared to finish the plan. At least we are drawing them here now and can wipe them out in one stroke. All your obstructions to the throne will be cleared out. Long Mingzu was stunned and said, Master, do you have confidence? Your old ancestor is strong but I still managed to save you from so far away. If he fights me head-on, he will have no chance to retaliate at all. Li Xiandao said confidently. Then, Master, what should we do? Tian Guangming asked excitedly. You don't have to do anything but cultivate. Stop being such a sissy, otherwise, I will go against the contract and abandon you. Li Xiandao threatened.